All right, what's up, everyone? This is Kirk here again at Option Alpha, and thank you so much for being here on day 2. Hopefully you're digging the song. Yep. Are you in? Seems like you are in. What's up, MacD Daddy? What's going on, man? Digging the shirt? I'll have to send you one. John, how you doing, man? Good to see you back. Rocco coming in first. First with the first response. So funny. All right, thank you guys so much for being here. As always, we've got a jam-packed day for you today. I think you guys will enjoy it. Just a little bit of an agenda to go through just to kind of set the stage, if you will, on what you're going to be doing or what we're going to be doing today. Today is focused 100% on bot building and going through in a meticulous fashion as many of the different recipes that we have available currently and trying to put those together in different combinations, trying to really just stir the creative juices, if you will. And that's going to be the goal today. So we're going to be building a lot of different bots. We're going to be going through a lot of different automations. We're going to be reusing automations and tweaking them. We're going to get a lot more hands-on into using inputs for bots and how we can use custom inputs to make your automations that you build out in Option Alpha even more flexible. So we're going to have a pretty fun day, and I'm super pumped about it. This is like the candy store for me for doing this stuff because I love all the ideas and all the things that we can do and all the possibility that we have moving forward. I'm super pumped about it. One thing that I'll say about today as we go through it, because there's no as we start building this thing out, there's no right way, wrong way to do this, right? There's a million combinations, as you'll see here in a little bit, of how we could put this all together. But the one thing that I want to say right up front, if you're watching this recording or if you're watching this now and you're joining me live, is that the future of what we can do at Option Alpha is truly limitless with some of these things. So if you don't see something you want to do today on the demo, if there's some special way of doing it, some special tweak or indicator or function or combination of functions, this is why we're going through a multi-month beta period, because we want to get all of that flushed out from people who are in Elite so that we can build these tools for you and add them. A lot of the recipes that you'll see today are very flexible, and if you think creatively about how you can put them together, I think what you'll find is that you can do really unique things with recipes and automations. But if there's still something where you're like, you know what, it'd be cool if we could combine this and this and have its own recipe, those aren't that hard for us to build out. And so just add them to the wish list. There's a lot of people who have added a ton of comments and questions to the wish list already, many of which we've already started to implement or things we've already done. So that'll be fun. So does that make sense? The limitless capabilities of what we can do here is probably mind-numbing for a lot, even for me. I know a lot of what we can do, and there's still things that I'm like, oh yeah, you could do that if you wanted to. In fact, last night I was talking to somebody on the phone, and he was like, well, it'd be really good to have the flash crash hedge bot, which we'll go through here today. It'd be really good to have the flash crash hedge bot be able to do that for every single one of my positions. And I'm like, well, you could do that if you want to. You just build it right into every single one of your automations. The first check you do is some sort of market crash check before every automation. So I think it's just my goal today is to get you to really think creatively about how you can use bots to replace existing actions and tasks you're doing now, and how you can use them to enhance some of the things you're doing. And then tomorrow we're going to talk about combining different bots together and building a portfolio of bots. I think it'll be really fun. So you guys ready? Ready to jump in here? I have my tea ready to go. I'm shocked actually yesterday that I did not lose my voice. So I will try and attempt very hard to not lose my voice today either, because we have this, plus we have the full demo tonight. So hopefully you can join us for all this. Yeah, let's go. People are like, let's go. Let's do it. Ready? Yes. Hey, what's going on? Hey, all. All right, good. So great you guys are here. Thank you, by the way. All right, so here's the deal. I do want to go through a couple of these slides. If you've seen these on the demos before, it's important that we go through this again just to set the context of just what bots are and then how we use automation. So I want to go through this really quickly, and then we'll dive right into the bots, okay? Then we'll dive right into the bots themselves. So the first thing you guys have to understand is that, of course, bots are the future of this entire industry. Once you see this and you understand it, you realize how disruptive this technology is, because what we're doing is we're taking something that is a clunky manual process, and we're giving you the ability to remove the clunkiness and the manual process and automate and streamline everything that you're doing. So the idea around how we built this platform and how we kind of organized it is around bots. So bots are nothing more than just an automated trading strategy running inside your portfolio. And I stress this so much because what I think a lot of people assume wrongly is that one bot controls everything. Now, you could, if you wanted to, have one bot that is granted access, if you choose, to your entire account, and you allocate the full account balance to that bot. But the way that I think about it is I think about bots as running little micro strategies inside our portfolio. And if you joined us yesterday on day one, you understand how I think about this, and I think about combining different strategies and allocating different percentages. And this is where the scalability of bots trumps everything else that you could have done before. Because what you had to do before this is you had to choose, okay, I've got to run an iron condor strategy, and I just don't have time to run some sort of hedging strategy. That's not how this works anymore. You can let the bots take over that management and that execution process. So bots are under your total control and follow instructions you give it, which we simply call automations. Automations allow the bot to have the instruction manual of what to do. The automations themselves can be simple, they can be complex, they can be insanely complex, as we'll show you here today. We can just continue to build and build and build upon them. But you just got to think that automations are like the instruction manual for the bot, and they follow the automations. They literally just go through the process. Whatever you tell them to do, they do that. So this is where, and I'll pause here for a second and say, this is where I think a lot of people wrongly assume that bots are going to just replace them as a trader. I think that what bots do is they're going to amplify what type of trader you are. If you actually spend the time to go through and do the research and the back testing of a lot of what we showed you yesterday, and you can find some good strategies and you can really use your brain power for what it's best used for, then I think bots amplify the type of trader that you should be or you could become. If you're the type of trader that just doesn't care about anything and you're just trying to scalp things all over the place and you're not really thinking through the entire process, bots are going to amplify those things that you didn't think through all the way. So I think that's the challenge with them. I'll be totally honest with you. The challenge with bots, not that you can't learn it or can't do it, and you definitely can. It's just you really have to think through the entire process. Today, when we start building out some of these bots, I want to go through this slowly so that we build on top of it as we go through today's masterclass, okay? So that's about bots. When you think about a bot portfolio, this is how I truly think about bots being broken out. You've probably seen this a million times. You can divvy up the pot any way that you want. But the way I think about bots is I think about them in the context of having bots manage different portions of your account. So one bot that manages 40%, one bot that manages 15%, one bot that manages 10%, and lots of bots that manage these micro percentages of 5, 6, 4, 1, 2, whatever, right? This is where you start to build up high of scalable strategies. I said this before, but it's so important to understand. Now that you have automation, you don't have to choose to do one strategy over another. You can choose to run them simultaneously, even if one is more complex and would have required more time had you done it manually. This is the scalability of using automation tools. If you're an elite member, you'll have 100 bots at your disposal. way more than you possibly need. But if you wanted to run 1% of your account for every little one bot, you could do that. So that's how bots are set up structurally and how I think about it and how we're going to look at it today. So like I said, bots only require 3 things to get the job done. And this is where all of our time is going to be spent today. All of our time is going to be spent really deep into automations and different ways you can automations, the triggers, the flow, the recipes, and kind of putting this all together. But bots essentially require 3 things to get the job done. And they can happen and talk to one another. This is the cool part about it, is that they can talk to one another, and they interchangeably will, when I say they talk to each other, these automations within a bot, they talk to each other, and then they see if there's an opening or a gap that they can fill. I'll show you this today as we go through it, but when you think about bots and how you might use a strategy, you just need scanners and filters. You've got to tell the bot what to look for and what to filter out. It's a really simple process, but I think people overcomplicate it. In some cases, your scan or filter may be 1 or 2 things. Look for high implied volatility and some indicator. Look for a positive uptrend and high implied volatility. It doesn't have to be insanely complex. You can make it complex if you want to, but you don't have to make it complex. Once you have a strategy that's found and filtered out, then you got to tell the bot what to do. And what's cool about it, and we'll go through this again today, is that it can be a dynamic decision. It doesn't have to be, when you find this, just do this strategy. It could be, if this market environment, or in this market environment, do this. In this other market environment, bot, do this. And in this 3rd or 4th or 5th market environment, do that. But you just have to know what you're going to do in every scenario. Again, we'll go through a lot of examples as we go through today. And then the final thing is you got to tell it how to manage the position. This to me is, I think, one of the coolest things that we do, because this really kind of completes the whole loop here. You allow the bot to take care of not only looking for and filtering and entering positions, but you allow the bot to take over control of management. How do you manage the positions moving forward? And do you exit at various different times? Do you check for different profit levels based on different days until expiration? It is not a one-size-fits-all management. It is dynamic management if you want it to be. So again, think about how you could build some of these bots, and I encourage you to write this down. Write all of this down so that you have some ideas on how you might put things together. What do you look for? What do you filter? What strategies do you use, and how do you manage it? How might you manage it in different scenarios? By the way, yes, this will definitely be recorded, as always for all of them. I think it's recorded automatically on YouTube anyway. So what is an automation? Automations are just simply the set of decisions you tell the bot to go through, and automations can run continuously. You can run them only on set schedules, or you can run them on when certain events happen. And the events type automation is, again, I think an area where we will continue to expand the functionality of bots. So I know I keep harping on this, but I'm telling you, if you think that all this stuff is set in stone and what we show you here tonight, you're really, really not looking at the full potential of what we're doing, because we're going to continue to improve and enhance and build out additional functionality. We just want to hear your feedback. We want to get people in there, see how they start using it, right? See what things they use, what things they don't use, how we can combine decisions and automations and group them together. It's really going to be an ongoing process. But automations are where it starts. Now, before we jump in there, there's one thing that I've got to, again, just really stress to you. I will try to show you as much as I possibly can today. But the infinite flexibility and scale here is, you cannot even comprehend all the possible combinations. because it's infinite. It's truly an infinite possible set of combinations that people can put together. I don't think that we will ever be limited in what we could do and how we could do it because of the way the recipes and decision trees are put together. And what I was trying to explain this to somebody, and my wife helped me come up with this analogy, so thank you, wife. What I tried to tell someone was that it's like a deck of cards. You know, a deck of cards has 52 cards. Do you know how many combinations there are of 52 cards that could be put together? Do you guys know, like, do you know how many combinations of 52? Essentially, it's a function of 52, right? It's 8.06 to the 67th power. The combination is so big, that anytime you pick up a shuffled deck of cards, you're probably holding an arrangement of cards that has never existed and might not ever exist again. So the reason I use this analogy, and it's so fitting to what we're doing today, is because each one of these cards to us is a very specific recipe. And these recipes have functionality and different parameters in and of themselves. It's like we've got a massive deck of cards at our disposal, and we can pull out whatever combination of cards and automations we want moving forward. So I'm telling you guys, when I say that we have so much flexibility, and there's no way I could possibly show you all of that today. I'm going to try my best, but I'll show you all the different things you can do, and then you can put them into as many infinite combinations as possible. Does that sound fair? Mind status blown. That's hilarious. Okay. So let's jump on over to the platform. And there we go. All right, can you guys see this? And yeah, you're not limited to 52. We'll continue to build out these little recipes as much as we want. Okay, you should be able to see the bots now. Yeah, and by the way, the recipes and automations and stuff like that, we want you guys to be able to freely share those with each other. And so there's definitely not going to be like a black market of bots or a black market of recipes. That's definitely not what we're building here. I think we can help each other out. If you don't want to share your recipes, you don't want to share your bots and everything that you do, that's totally fine too. Okay, that's totally fine too. So look, I think what I want to do is I want to start first with just some high level look at what bots are. Again, if you've been to a demo before, you've kind of seen some of this, but it's worth repeating if you've never been to a demo, this is your first time. And I want to start with just the controls that bots have. Okay, the controls that bots have, because I think that's really important. Inside of your list of bots that you're running, you have a couple different tabs here. You have your dashboard, which is going to show you all of your performance metrics, your P&L line over time since the bot was started, the activity that it's gone through today. So since this morning, it's already made 105 decisions, this particular one. And then all of the capital. So like, what's your net liquidity, how much available, how much did you allocate, and then all of your positions. Now, the really cool thing about the way that we built this is that you can do manual trading right inside of the bot itself. If you wanted to manually open a position and you wanted to manually close a position, you could do that if you wanted to. You just click on a position inside of the automation itself and then close. Or you just open a position right here and open up your type of position. So you can do manual trading. You can do a little bit of hybrid trading. If you wanted to let the bots always automatically open and you manually close, you can do that. If you want to let the bots, or you want to manually open and you just want the bots to take care of management and closing, you can do that too. And then you have all of your history of everything that you've done for the position, any canceled, closed orders, etc. In the settings of the bot, this is where you really start to set up the way that the bot functions and what its parameters are. You could think about this as being the bumper lanes of the bot, right? So in bowling, you can pull up the bumper lanes. That's what I kind of think about here. Like, what are the rules of the road at the highest possible level for these bots? In this case, you've set the allocation manually. Now, a lot of people have asked, should we set this based on a percentage? Right now, we set it based on a manual allocation, which you can calculate the percentage yourself. Pretty easy to do. Because we want you to type in exactly how much money that bot has allocation to. Not some percentage that you didn't know what that really turned into. Because I can say, our attorneys have said, people are going to look at that and they're going to be like, oh, somebody's going to say, I didn't know 5% of my account meant $5,000, right? So you got to tell us right now how much money the bot has allocation to. You want it to allocate $100 max, so never trade more than $100? Okay, you can do that. It can be as little or as much as you want, and you tell the allocation. Then when it comes to position limits, this is where you start to, again, set some of these bumpers in place. In this case, you can tell the bot exactly how many positions it can open in one day. And Jamal had a really good question here. I basically said, well, how does this work with PDT rules? I think it was another question somebody had. I'll show you here in a little bit how you can set this up so you can monitor that so it doesn't exit and do day trading. But it's easy to set up inside the recipes. Right? It's easy to set up inside the recipes. But yeah, you can definitely manage it to do it. But the first one here is daily position limits. So this tells the bot, look, you can only enter 2 positions per day, or you can only enter 1 position per day. You can only enter 4 positions per day. You can dynamically change this and say, look, bot, you have the ability to enter X number of positions per day. Now, this is the first level of, I call it the first level of risk management that you have. And activity management. You don't want the bot to go crazy? Fine. Just let it do 1 position most per day. If it even found a position. If it even found an opportunity to trade. The second thing that you have is you have total position limits. So now you say, look, you can do 2 positions per day, but when you get to a total of 7 positions, you cannot enter a new position until 1 position is freed up. Does that make sense? So this is how you can start to control the functionality of the bots so that it does what you want it to do. And the beautiful thing about setting up bots is that you might have one bot that you are more than comfortable having 10, 7, 8 positions open in a day. Whereas another strategy that you're trading, you may only want 1 position per day because it's a big trade. Maybe it's a more aggressive or a riskier trade. So the beauty of having bots is that every bot could have its own little strategy and way of doing things. And again, you can allocate a lot of capital or a little capital and build out repetitions and clone and replicate and reuse them over and over again. Does this help so far? Everyone good here before we keep going? I assume so. So then you just save it. By the way, if you ever want to change any of those midway through, you just change them here and then they become effective immediately. So that's the first level. The next thing that we have to look at is automations. Now, before I even get to automations, I want to switch over to a trading chart and I want to show you this. So let me do this. Let me switch over to a trading chart. Hello, everyone. Can you guys see this here? Here we go. This is just a chart of the S&P with a 200-day moving average. Now, the first bot that I want to build out with you guys or go through is I just want to go through a very, very simple trend decision. Now, again, the idea around doing this masterclass today was that we start small, granular, and we continue to build on top of it, knowing that this is a deck of 52 plus cards and infinite combinations of how you can put it together. So this right here is just the S&P with a simple 200-day SMA. That's it. A lot of people use a trading strategy where they buy stock when the stock is above the moving average, and they sell stock when the stock closes below the moving average. Simple enough. Now look, you can use it, you don't use it, whatever. It's just the context of setting an example. So you'll notice that if you do this, and you can go back to multiple time frames and years, right? It might not have been a bad strategy. Get out of positions when the stock goes under the moving average, buy stock when it goes over the moving average. That's the whole strategy. There's nothing else in it. If this line becomes your de facto signal for getting into and out of a position. Do we all agree right now it's simple, simple, simple? Because we're going to take this and then we're going to start to build a lot more layers of complexity on top of it. So let me know. All right. So you guys can see that. Good. So here's what we're going to do. Let's go back to the bots. And what we're going to do is I'm going to delete all these in here. I'll just build them all out from scratch. When you get into your first bot, you will have no automations. Remember what I told you. Automations are simply the instructions you give it. So when you build your first bot, if you don't clone one, you'll have no automations. You'll have to build out your automations. But think about it as just a series of decisions that you can use. So in this case, we're going to add a type of automation called a scanner. And scanners trigger on a reoccurring schedule. They trigger on a reoccurring schedule. Scanners look for possibilities to enter positions. Scanners look for possibilities to enter positions. Oh, you guys see me. God, I got to remember to do that. There you go. This like streaming thing is a little funky where if you change screens, you have to like reconfirm it every time. All right, but here's the scanner. We're going to build a scanner. And like I said, scanners look for positions. Now, when you add a scanner, you can select an automation. The beautiful thing about this is that your automations that you run can be saved and reused over and over and over again if you wanted to. If you wanted to, you can save them to a list called My Automations. And this is where you can now bit and piece different parts of strategies together into different bot combinations, as I'll show you. Or you can build one from scratch. Or you could build one from scratch. So we're going to build one from scratch. And we're going to call it Masterclass Trend Stock. Just so we know it's trading stock. You can call it whatever you want. You can call it automation 1, 2, 3. And we're going to save it to our list of automations so that it keeps those automations in place. Now we have our decision tree framework up. And so when this automation runs, now you have to tell the bot what to do. Now, what do we want the bot to do here? Just let me know in the comments. By the way, I see a lot of comments like, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? We'll continue to go through this like a beautiful movie and a great puzzle. It'll all come together as we add more of these pieces. I'll do lots of examples here. But what do we want the bot to do? Remember our simple trend decision that we had before. Like, talk it out to me. It's going to be a little bit interactive here, but tell me what you want it to do with your words. You know, write in the comments. Boom. This is the best one. So fast. Buy stock. Buy when the stock is greater than the 200 moving average. Buy stock when the price is above the 200-day moving average. If the stock is above the 50 moving average, buy, right? What we want to do in this case was the 200. So that's it, right? That's the decision. Now look, the reason I told you to do this is because as you think it out in your mind, as you think about it and you verbally articulate it, buy stock when this thing hits or when stock is above this moving average. That is how we built out these decision recipes to work so that it works this very same way. So the first thing that you want the bot to do is not open a position, not close a position, right? This is a scanner. You don't want the bot to open a position. You don't want the bot to close a position. You want the bot to make a decision. You want the bot to make a decision. So you click decision. Now you need to add some criteria. Now look, this is where it gets bananas with the combinations. You click on this, and now you get to add any one of these recipes in whatever combination you want. I promise you today, we will continue to go through all of them one by one at some point. Okay? But these recipes are dynamic and they use natural language. They use natural language, and then what we do on the back end is we convert that natural language into an algorithm that updates and rewrites itself to run your automation. How cool is that? So the first thing that we want to check is this one right here, which is the symbol's price above, below some term moving average? And notice any of these ones that are underlined are flexible inputs. You can adjust the values and the parameters. Now I'll just hard code one in now just to start, but let's just say we always want to run this on SPY. So we can hard code in SPY, or later I'll show you how we can use a link and an input. But for now, let's say that we just want to trade SPY. So we type in SPY. We can then manually say we want to see if SPY's price is above not the 30-day, but the 200-day moving average. Now you can use some other types of moving averages too if you want to, but in this case we'll just use an SMA. That's the criteria that we put in here. And that's it. That's the only criteria that we have for this particular strategy to start. If you wanted to add more, we can add more here, but let's just continue down this path first and then we'll get more advanced. That sound fair? So once I put this criteria in, I just hit save, and now my decision tree splits. Now, when the bot runs this automation, every 15 minutes throughout the day, runs this automation looking for an opportunity to enter a position, it's going to first encounter this decision. And it's going to ask itself and the market, is the S&P price above its 200-day moving average? If the answer to that question is yes, you can choose to have the bot do something. If the answer to that question is no, and you don't want to enter a trade, don't have the bot do anything. Just leave the no field blank and you see it will end by itself. But what do we want to do if the S&P's price is above the 200-day moving average? Anybody? Just type it in there. If you're like a really smart engineering mindset type, you're probably like, yeah, I get it. But just follow along. We'll get to more complex stuff. But what do we want the bot to do? What's the functionality we want it to perform? If the stock is above the moving average, we want the bot to what? Buy. There is no maybe decision. It's either a yes or no. Is the stock above that's 200-day moving average or not? Yeah, we want to buy the S&P. Buy 100 shares, right? Whatever you want it to do. So we just add another action. Now, when we add an action, in this particular case, we don't want the bot to make another decision. We've already made all the decisions we wanted to make. We just want to open a new position. And this is where you can select from your list of positions. In this case, we're going to buy long equity. So in this case now with SPY, we say, hey, look, we want to buy stock in SPY. And we can manually type in how many shares we want to buy. Say we want to buy 10 shares. Or what's really cool, and this is another level of risk control and the ability to really hone in on what the bot can do and can't do with certain automations. But you could, for this automation, say, you know what? Whenever this automation runs, only risk $1,000. So buy as many shares as $1,000 would allocate. That's it. In this case, we'll just say 10 shares. 10 shares. That's it. Cool? Now, this is your whole decision. This is an insanely simple decision, but guess what? This can be run by any stock trader. This, to me, is the ground floor. This is the entry point, the gateway automation drug to putting in positions. Now, let me stop right here for a second and talk about market orders and filling orders and things like that. Because I think you guys will really enjoy this quick little discussion on a feature we have called smart pricing. And we talked about this yesterday, but it's worth repeating here and showing you. You'll have all of the regular ways of putting together orders, limit orders, right? All the regular GTC orders, all the ones that you're used to. But one of the things that we did build into the platform is the ability to use what's called smart pricing. And smart pricing works like this. It takes some variables that you can have some functionality and some specificity over. Say you choose that you're comfortable trading anywhere around 60% of the spread width. And it goes through and it calculates the spread. And then it calculates some intervals that it could try pricing at. In this particular example, it's changing the pricing 3 cents every 10 seconds and working its way up the chain because you're buying stock. Oh, crap. You guys just see me. There you go. So this is how it works. It calculates this width. The mid price might be about 260, but it would just work itself up the pricing chain. And I think this happens enough to make it worth it, that it pays for itself, essentially. So every 10 seconds, it fires an order, sees if it fills, changes prices, fires an order, see if it fills, changes prices, fires an order, see if it fills, until it reaches your maximum threshold of what you'd be willing to pay to get into it. That's how smart pricing works. And you can choose some of those parameters on how aggressive or how fast or at what intervals they work. When you get out of a position, it works like this. Smart pricing works in the opposite direction. It starts backing its way down the bid-ask spread. And notice that you could be more conservative when you get out of the position. So you could do 3-cent increments every 30 seconds because you're just not in a rush to exit the position. Okay? Is that pretty cool? We're the only place that has that you can do that. So when we talk about orders and filling, understand you'll have a lot of flexibility, obviously, to use smart pricing and to use different levels of smart pricing for entering versus exiting. So let's get back to the bots. So in this case, with the bots, you want to just open a position and get into long stock. That's it. Once you're done with that, you just simply save this automation. And now this automation is running in your account. That's it. It's going to check and see if the market is above a moving average, and then it's just going to enter the order. Pretty cool? So now what do you need though? So now you've gotten your position in. What do you have to do now? This is where, like, again, we're building this context of challenging and stress testing you to say, what do I think of as I build out an entire strategy? My scanner is in place. I'm entering positions all the time. What do I do? What do I do? I manage it, right? I need something to watch for when a position gets entered. So now what I add is I add another automation called a monitor. I add another automation called a monitor. And what a monitor does is it does exactly what it sounds like. It monitors any type of position you set. Now, what's cool about the way that we built this out is that you can specify different monitor automations for different types of strategies in your account. In this case, we can say, hey, for this position type, it could be any position this bot opens, manage it the same way. Or whenever I have long equity, I want to manage long equity exactly the same. Now, I've said this a number of times, but I think it's really worth repeating. But whenever I have 3 kids, okay? 3 beautiful kids. They are all completely different. I cannot talk to and manage the emotions of all 3 of those kids exactly the same. Like, I don't talk to my oldest daughter and my youngest son exactly the same. And so I think when you run your strategies, you're going to want to trade different management styles and techniques on different types of strategies in your bot, right? So that's what we give you the ability to do here. We give you the ability to say, look, if it's just long equity, run the automation sequence differently. Now, when you click into automations, again, you can choose the different automations that are already available. And notice that the bot is smart enough to see that these ones that are down here are incompatible. These automations resulted in a new position being entered, and these are scanners that you built. They're not monitor automations. They're not automations specifically designed to manage positions. The bots are smart enough to know which ones are incompatible so you don't mess up on that end. Is that cool? So in this case, I already have one in here, but I'll build another one so you guys can see and we can walk through it together. But I'll create a new automation. We'll call it the Masterclass Manager for stock. That's it. And I'm going to add it to my automation so that I can reuse it over and over again. By the way, if you are asking questions, I know we are getting riddled with questions in Q&A around Greeks and open interest and volume and change strikes, all that. But just bear with us. We'll get there. We just want to go through this process. I promise we'll get there and we'll get more complex. Okay? So this is my masterclass manager. And what do I want to do? What is the decision that I need this bot to make in order to close the position? What is the decision that this bot is going to make in order to close the position? What should it be watching? Remember, this is a very simple trend decision bot, so it needs to watch for what? You can add it in the comments. Right. It needs to see if the market goes below the 200-day moving average. That's it. That's what it needs to see. So let's build that decision. We're going to start this manager with a very simple action, which is it's going to make a decision. Now remember, you could, if you want to, start it with an action like open or close the position, but that's probably not the way this particular one's going to work. This particular one is going to make a simple decision. And we're going to add the criteria to see if the symbol's price, and in this case we're just using SPY again, if the symbol's price is now below the 200-day moving average. That's it. If the S&P's price is below the 200-day moving average, if the answer to that question is yes, then what do we want to do? Close the position. And you already have an input here that's just dynamically looking at each individual position that you've opened. So that's your manager. If the S&P's price is not below a 200-day moving average, i.e. that it's above the 200-day moving average, then do nothing. End the automation. Simply just don't do anything because you want to maintain the long stock position the whole way through. So this again is the bare basics of how you can put together a very simple trend decision. And trend decisions are something that I think a lot of people would argue is a strategy that adds value to any stock position that you would have. So that's it. Now that I'm good there, I save this automation. I say, look, automation, anytime a long equity position is opened, run it through this manager action. I hit save. And then what it'll continue to do is it'll continue to look at all of the positions and check to see if the rules in this automation are followed. Pretty cool. That's it. That's all this one needs to do. It doesn't need to do anything. You've effectively told this bot everything it needs. It needs to check a trend and then open a long stock position. Once it's opened the position, boom, the monitor action fires up and it looks for an opportunity to close the position. If the stock already has all of the available positions opened that you allowed it to have, in this case, this one has 7 of 7, this monitor or this scanner automation will go into hibernation mode. It basically just waits for an opportunity for something to open up because it can't open a position, right? It can't open a position anymore. The portfolio is full based on the criteria that you gave it. But the monitor actions, they watch all the time. Now look, I deleted these before we jumped on today, but the other one that I had in there was basically the same, is the index price above a 200-day moving average? Yes? Okay, do nothing. Just keep the position open. Pretty cool? Pretty easy way to do this. Do you guys want to get more advanced now? By the way, can you guys see is it starting to make sense? Waiting is it's waiting to run. It's basically like waiting for an opportunity, waiting for an opening in the position. In this case, the SPY that we had, everything would have been triggered off of SPY because we didn't make it dynamic for each position. But we'll show you how to do that here now. So can the bot do more decisions and start to branching into and if then decisions? You bet. I'm going to show you how we can do that as we continue to go through. Yeah, you bet. It can get wicked complex if you wanted to. Okay? Ha! MACD Daddy, one demo down, 8.06E to the 67th power and more to go. It's hilarious. That's funny. All right, so let's get more complex with this. So let's go back into our trend and let's start to add some complexity to this trend. The first thing that we want to do is we want to make this whole decision framework flexible for any ticker that we put in. Because what we've done now is we've effectively just hard-coded in SPY. We've just hard-coded in SPY. Clearly, we may not want to trade just SPY. So what we can do is we can add what's called an input. And an input creates a dynamic field that you fill in later on. It allows you to take the structure of an automation and reuse the structure of the automation over and over and over again, swapping out different parameters, inputs, and fields as you need. So I want to show you how you can start that process here, because this is the easiest way you can do it, is you can create an input for the ticker symbol. So I'll just create an input called ticker. And what that does is that saves basically a blank space here. That means that when I am done with this, I'll have to define the ticker symbol specifically later on. But if I don't define it here, it now becomes a flexible parameter that I can reuse over and over again. Does that make sense for those of you who are following along? Instead of hard coding it in, I can make it a flexible entry field. And then I can reuse the automation with other tickers and other symbols and other things later on. So now that I do this, now the ticker is flexible. And I can do this with the equity position as well. I don't have to use that symbol. I can actually reuse the ticker one that I've already created. So now the same ticker that I put in here is now reusable across the entire decision framework. So that's the first thing that I've done now, is I've now taken this very simple hard-coded, I'm only going to trade SPY, and I've now made it flexible to be reused on any type of symbol that I define. So now when I get out of the decision tree and I go in here, now what shows up? The symbol field, or the ticker field. The input that I have now becomes an inputable field here. And I can put in the symbol, and now I know that this automation will run specifically on this symbol. And if I want to build out another automation, say separately, I can reuse that exact same automation, and I can now make it dynamic for a different symbol, say IWM. Now, I don't know if I went too fast there, but that is wicked cool that you can start to do this. Now, the question has come up a number of times, and I want to address it here. Can one bot go through a list of tickers? And the answer is yes. We're building out that functionality so it can do that. We're calling it the repeater. It would repeat through a set of steps. You would just have to hard code exactly what tickers you want it to go through and scan. But if you wanted to make some of these fields adjustable, you could also whip up additional scanners right inside the bot. So there's, again, a lot of flexibility into how you put this in there. So let's go back in here to this automation and let's add some complexity. What's another thing that you might want in here for your decision step? What if you want to check and see if the 50-day moving average is above the 200-day moving average. That could be another way that you add complexity. You don't want the stock just to be in an uptrend. You want the 50-day moving average to be above the 200-day. So you again link the same ticker symbol and you check that ticker's 50-day moving average. You want to make sure that it's above or below or whatever the 200-day. And again, these are all flexible. So this is another decision that you're going to make at this stage. This is where, and somebody said, can we start threading decisions? Can we start threading decisions? And you could do this right here. You can just say, this has to be true and this has to be true in order for me to get into the position. Both of those have to be true in order for me to get into the position. Let me go back to my Thinkorswim chart just for a second. Is this fun, by the way? This is way better than like regular work, right? If you're at work right now and you're like creeping on here, let me know, right? Is this way better than regular work? So this is the 200-day moving average. This is how you would do it now. You'd have to go into your studies. You'd have to add another SMA, right? And you'd have to adjust the parameters to a 50-day moving average. Now you got your 50-day moving average. And only when, if I zoom in on this time period, only when the 50 is above the 200-day moving average and the stock price itself is above the 200 would you enter the position. Now, if you don't have automations, you got to watch this all the time. All the time. Right? But there could be scenarios where the 50-day moving average is above the 200, but the stock price slams lower. So that's why maybe in this case, you want to have both of those as being filters, right? You want to have both of those as being filters. So let's go back to the bots. You want to make it an and statement. The ticker price is above the 200-day and the 50-day moving average is above the 200-day. Now, when I save, now notice that both of these have to be true in order for me to open a long position. I've now added a layer of complexity to my bot and I've done it very easily. If you want to change those parameters, you can go in here and you can just click on them and change the parameters. Maybe you want to do the 100-day moving average. And then you save it, and now it's the 100. Oh, I didn't save my screen here. There you go. You want to change it, you just click on it, and you just change those parameters, and you're good to go. By the way, a lot of people are asking about multiple time frames. We will definitely have multiple time frames available in intraday charting, but everything right now is based on daily. But this is why I said, like, there's a lot of things that we are building out and actively adding. We just got to put one foot in front of the other as we continue to add features to this. So now you have a complex decision, and that complex decision is allowing you to enter into the position. Sound good? What if you wanted to add another decision before this one? I know me personally, if I was going to trade some sort of trend decision, I might want to make another decision only if the stock is in an uptrend. So the first group of decisions that I would make are right here. Is the stock in an uptrend? Then I might precede this decision with another decision to say, look, is the symbol's volume greater than a certain amount? Maybe I only want to trade on days where the volume for the particular symbol, or the high price, the low price, the open price, the change in price, whatever, is greater than, let's say, 10,000 shares. Maybe that's the threshold for me to say, look, I'll only trade it if today's volume is greater than 10,000 shares already. And so now I've nested and seeded a decision preceding my long equity position. Now you can see how the decision trees can continue to grow. How they continue to grow out. Maybe this set of decisions is 2 decisions themselves. Maybe I want to see if the symbol's price has been up at least 2% since whatever, a week ago. By the way, someone just joined you, said, I've been an elite member for 4 years. If you're a lifetime member for 4 years, you'll be in. You got it. But is that pretty cool how you guys can see we can do that? We can now group these things together and you can say, look, at this stage, either one of these has to be true in order for me to get into the position. And now I just save, and now I've nested an additional set of decisions. I've made decision after decision. Again, you guys do this naturally. I've been trying to really harp on this point, which I think is so, so important. But let me go back to my screen here. You are walking through this in your mind all the time. You're walking through this in your mind all the time. I just want you to get it out of your mind and into automations. Whatever that set of decisions you make are, and what the steps are that you take. Is that cool? So now we have all of this built into this long equity position. What if the volume isn't that great, or the stock has not been up 2% since a week ago? You still might buy stock. You still could open a long equity position, but maybe you do it with a different value of shares. In this example, if there is a lot of volume, maybe you do 10 shares. And if there's not a lot of volume, you could do 5 shares. How stinking cool is this to be able to build out a dynamic strategy like this right here, right in one place? Now you could go over here to the manager and you could do additional things here. Is the S&P price below the 200-day moving average? Maybe you actually want to proceed this with a profit decision. Right? You could proceed this and say, look, did the premium on the position that I have, did it increase by 5% since it was opened? Maybe that's the first decision that you make. Do I have a profit? And then if I have a profit, but the stock is in a downtrend, I might be willing to close. Is that pretty cool? Or you could have some sort of way to do a stop loss. You could say, look, if the premium on the position, basically the value of my stock that I bought, if it went down by 10%, that's my threshold to start saying, hey, we need to close this thing. Right? And you don't even care about the trend at that point. You can delete that and you can just say, look, just close the position if the value goes down 10%. Done. You could have a dynamic decision right in here that says if the position's premium goes down by 10%, or if the value of my position increases by 15%, if either one of these happen, then close the position. So think about what this does now. This is your stop loss. Did the value of my position decrease by 10%? Or did the value of my position go up by 15%? That's my profit taking. You've now set both of these in here, and it's always going to check, did either of these happen? Do I either have a profit or am I at my stop loss? And if either of those are true, close the position at that price. Are you starting to see how the different cards can fit together? The 52 deck of cards? Is this fun? We're going to keep going. We're going to get really, really complex with this. Really, really complex with this. Let me know. Good stuff. All right. Let's walk through some of these different recipes because I think this will help out tremendously. And I just want to walk through some of the different recipes you can put together. I'll just add a different one over here. You can obviously delete recipes. And you can do grouping. So some of the recipes, let's go through these one by one so you can see what they are. This will probably be really helpful just so to get you familiar with a lot of the things you can do. By the way, if you don't see something in here that you want to do, let us know, add it to the wish list. There's a lot of things that we have scripted out that we are going to add. Like one of the ones is a trailing stop loss. People are requesting that. That's cool. We can add that. We can add other types of indicators and signals and things like that. These recipes are not that complex for us to add. They do take a little bit of time to code and get all the data and figure out how we're going to cache it and all that stuff, but it's not that complex. So if you guys have some additional thoughts, just add them to the wish list. I've said before, this is an ever-growing list. When we actually first released this to our internal team, this list was like 8 or 10, and then we just continue to say, oh, it'd be cool if we could do this, if we could do this, if we could do this. So let me go over what we can do now, but that's not the limit. Is that fair? First one here is you can check to see if a symbol's price is below or above a certain price. For some people who use support and resistance levels, if you know that there are levels that you want to have as support and resistance, that could be a way you could use support and resistance levels. Now, because support and resistance levels are something that is totally arbitrary as far as like you visually see a level on a chart or not, you just got to tell us what that level is. The next one here is you can check symbol level data. So notice you can click in here and you can see volume, last price, the change, the percentage change, high price, IV rank, low price, mid price, open price, volume on the day, and then you can plug in those values. And yes, if you're seeing a bunch of things in here, like questions, these recipes are very easy for us to add. As long as we have the data, right, and it's not something objective, like it's not something, or subjective, like show me a, flag pattern. Like, well, we're not going to be able to analyze a flag pattern because that could be done a million different ways. But that's why we keep telling you guys, like, this is what we want to get out of the beta program, is all of these ideas on different ways we can do it. The next one here is the symbol price has increased or decreased a certain percentage since a certain time period. So you can say, did the value of a symbol go up or down by a certain percentage since yesterday, 2 days ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever. Is that cool? Again, these are all little cards in our deck of cards that we can cycle together. We already did the moving average. We already did the combination of moving averages. You can do IV rank. Is the symbol's IV rank above or below a certain rank and threshold? It's a popular one if you trade options. You can do earnings. Earnings are a cool one where you can say, look, does the symbol report earnings in more than or less than 7, 10, 15, 60 days? This one is a cool one because let's say you want to enter a position, but you don't want to trade through earnings. Anybody here? Just put a little high five, yes, in the chat. Like do the little raise your hand thing in the chat. Are there strategies where you might want to avoid earnings? You can check for those earnings. You can check for those earnings coming up so that you avoid a strategy or avoid making a trade through earnings. That's pretty cool. Again, try to do this yourself manually, and you could do it. However, you'd have to continuously check that. Like, think about how much time you are wasting not only just monitoring earnings dates, but then trying to make the calculation of if they're within the time period that you would need, right? So you can check for those earnings dates. The probability. You can run simple probability analysis to figure out what the probability of a symbol being above or below a certain price that you dictate 30 days, 60 days, 90 days in the future, whatever it is. So if one of the filters for your taking a profit, for example, is I would take a profit if the chance of the symbol being below the current price is less than 50%, or whatever. Or if the chance of the symbol being below this price in 50 days is greater than 70%. You can do that type of above-below probability analysis. You can also do probability analysis of the stock being between two price points in the future. So you can say if the chance of the stock being below or above these certain price points, again, 30 days, 90 days, whatever, 46 days in the future, 45 days in the future, if that probability is more than 60%, then do something. So these are all stock-based metrics. I mean, with stock, there's only so much you can do because a lot of it's built into volume, price, and price relative to something else. When you get down to these, I'll talk about these in a second, and I'll talk about positions when we get to the manager. But the other way that you can do some filtering is, at least on scanning, and you can use this again on managers too, is you can do different indicators and values of indicators. So for example, is the tickers, for example, 14-day RSI above 70? That's a very classic one. We have a bunch of ones pre-built in here. We're adding more, like we have a recipe for MACD coming, Bollinger Bands, Kettler's I think we're working on as well. But there's a lot of them that are pre-built in here already. And again, if you don't see one, just let us know. You don't see one, just let us know. But you can run that indicator decision whenever you get into a position or whenever you get out of a position. Also, you can cross-reference two different indicators within the same one if you wanted to, right in the same recipe. And you can continue to add more and more. If you run 10 indicators, you can put 10 indicators inside of your decision and just continue to add them. This has to be true, that has to be true, that has to be true, that has to be true. We'll build out one of those together with the honey badger and you can see it. But in this case, you can see if the 14-day RSI is above some other symbol. You could cross-reference and check SPY versus TLT. I don't know how you want to do this, but we give you a lot of the parameters there so you can do that. If for some reason SPY's RSI being above a value of the same RSI on TLT is a tradable thing for you, great. You can How cool is that you can take data from two different symbols and cross-reference which one has a higher reading? That's pretty awesome. And then you can also check just regular ones, like we put VIX as its own little recipe. You can check the value of VIX. If VIX is below 30, do this. If VIX is above 40, do this. Do you guys see that? Is that pretty cool? So those are all the main recipes for stocks. And then when it comes to the indicators for the stocks. Again, we can continue to build this out. Give us your ideas. Give us your thought processes. Add it to the wish list. If it's already in there, we'll grant your wish and tell you it's already in there. I know Rob manages this, and he's granted a lot of wishes as well, where people are like, I wish it could do this. And guess what? It already does. When it comes to the recipes for management, let me go into this manager automation here so you can see what these look like. But when it comes to decisions for management, we have our own sets of recipes that are based on positions. So the way that we group these out here so that you can see that these are based on the positions inside of the bot. These are based on the positions inside of the bot, and you can do a lot of really cool things with these if you think about the combinations of how you put them together. We already went through this example, but did the value of the position go up or down by some metric? And again, you determine what that metric is. 200%, 300%, 50%, 10%, 1%, whatever it is for you and your position. The position expires in 5 days. Now, this would only be true for option positions, but you could check and see if the position expires in a certain number of days. So if the position expires in a certain number of days, maybe you make a different decision for management. I'll show you a lot of examples of how we can do this. I'm just running through the list of recipes so you can see how they work together. Does anybody, like, if the position expires in 10 days or 4 days, do you think you might do something different? Maybe like take any profit that you have? But again, if you are managing this and you're not letting automation do this, what happens when you mess up and you forget to check or you forget to do something? So let the bots manage it for you. Just tell them when to make those decisions. The position has been open for a certain period of time. I don't know how you want to use this, but maybe let's say some people say, look, if my position has been opened for more than 10 days, I want to close it because I never want to hold the position longer than 10 days. I don't know, however you want to use it. I'm giving you the deck of cards to be able to swap these things around into an infinite combination. Maybe if the position has been opened less than 10 days, you want to take a 5% profit. But if the position's been opened more than 10 days, you want to take a 2% profit. You can build in those types of decisions. So look, let's do it right here. If the position has been opened less than 10 days, that's the first decision we would make. If that is true, we could also check then to see if the position's premium, because we bought stock, went up by 10%. And if that's true, then we close the position. But if the premium didn't go up, or let's say the position hasn't been opened for less than 10 days, maybe it's been open for more than 10 days. Maybe at that point, we want to check and see if we have at least a 5% profit. So we say, did the value of the position go up 5%? And if that's true, then we close the position. Now I know I'm throwing this together on here, but you can see how you can make very complex decisions to be very dynamic about how you get out of positions. If the position's been open for 10 days and we've got a 10% profit, take it. If it's been open for more than 10 days, then I'm willing to take a 5% profit. So that's positions, one of the position ones that you can do. You can also have some additional ones in here. You can only run certain things through a certain symbol. You can say, as long as the position is in this particular symbol. I don't know how you want to use this one, but maybe you want to say, look, I'll manage everything one way unless it's this one symbol. Maybe that symbol is Tesla. You're like, if the symbol is Tesla, I want to do something completely different. But let's say my bot opens positions in a bunch of different tickers, but I want to filter everything that's not Tesla down one route. So I can check the ticker and I can make decisions dynamically based on different tickers. I might take a 25% profit on Tesla. I may take a 50% profit on everything else. Right? So you could put that, precede that decision right here. You could say, the first thing I want to do is I want to see if the position's underlying symbol is Tesla. That's it. If it is, only Tesla gets this set of criteria. And if it's not Tesla, then it gets this set of criteria, which is totally different. Do you notice how you can split the entire tree into one section just based on that one thing right there? Now you go down here and you can say, okay, do I have a certain type of position? Like, is this position a long call or short spread or whatever? Again, you can filter within the manager. You can do this at the top level with a manager. You can do this at the top level and say, this is just for stocks, but you can also thread these decisions and check the position type inside the manager itself. You can also check the value of certain legs in the position. Now this is where you get into the options, and we'll do this on some other examples, but just to go through the recipe here, this is where you can take whatever position you're looking at and you can check the long or short or the call leg, the put leg, whatever, and you can check the value of those legs, those individual legs. Like, let's say you want to see if the open interest is exactly less than, equal to, greater than some thing that you put in. So check the long put leg and the open interest of that to make sure that the open interest is above 1,000 contracts. This could be a filter to get into a position. This could be a trigger to get out of it. Some people, what they do is they check the delta of a position. They say like the long put delta, if the long put delta is greater than say 50, then that might be a reason to do something else. And yes, I'll demonstrate the probabilities and expected value stuff here in a second as we get deeper into this. Is that pretty cool? So this one recipe right here, you can group a bunch of these together. You can check this particular leg, and then you can go here and say, okay, I want to check this other leg, right? The other long call leg. You can do a lot of cross-referencing and checking of positions right inside the same framework. You can also check to see if the underlying price of the security is above or below some strike price. So not only can you check the actual values of the strikes themselves, you can check to see if the position is above or below certain strikes and not others. Is the stock above my long call but below my short put, or whatever it is? I mean, do you guys understand? I'm sorry. Am I the only person who's like, I get chills when I go through this? Because I go through this, I'm like sitting so close to the screen, by the way, because I'm blind as a bat. But I sit here and I go, there's so much you can do. All the things you guys like think about right now, you probably can check more things that you want to that you just don't even check because you're limited on time. You probably want to check things that you don't have the possibility of checking because you're limited on time. Let the bots do it for you. Let the bots check all these things for you. Let's keep going on these position ones. So you go in these positions, you can now, and remember I said in the beginning, you can also filter even deeper into automations to control things like pattern day trading rules. So you can say to the bot, only open one position per day. And in the manager, you can say, has a position been open for less than a day? Right? That's how you avoid yourself from exiting a position. Here, let me build this out. Let me just delete all this stuff. It's like, do you want to delete all this? Okay, here's my manager. So if I want to avoid the pattern day trading things, the first thing I do in here is I say, has this position been opened less than 1 day? And if it is, don't do anything. And then once it's open for more than a day, i.e. I avoid the pattern day trading rules, then make all of your decisions about profit taking, not profit taking, whatever. But that one thing right there avoids it. That one thing right there avoids it. People are like, there's a beast, like taking candy from a baby. That's how you avoid the pattern day trading rule. You limit yourself to entering whatever positions you want, but then in your manager, you just filter immediately to see if the position's been open less than a day. And if it has, you don't do anything. And then this is where you make all your other decisions based on profit or whatever you want. Last one here is you can check the number of positions in the bot to reference the bot itself and the rest of the positions it has. Maybe you want to take a profit only if you already have a bunch of other positions, right? And I'm trying to think of like a bunch of examples to continue to feed you guys with ideas and creativity, hopefully. But let's say the bot has 10 positions open and one of those 10 positions reaches a profit, your profit target. But you only want to take a profit if you've already got 10 positions. Because if you don't have 10 positions, let's say you have 5, you don't want to take a profit yet. Maybe that's just one way you don't want to take a profit because you're trying to build out this portfolio before you take your profits. So one of the things you could say is, does the bot have more than 10 positions, 9 positions, 10, whatever, with any type or with a certain type in there? So it's going to check and see if the bot already has a bunch of positions. And if it does have more positions, okay, then it could manage this one differently. And if it doesn't, it could manage it completely differently even from there. So this is where you can get very creative with how you group a lot of these things together and what you place as a priority. This is also why we gave you the ability to precede anything with a decision. So that you can, if you forget, you can go in here and go, oh, that's right, I wanted to do this first. I wanted to, before I made this decision, I just wanted to see if we were in an uptrend. So I see if we're in an uptrend. Right? That's what you can do. You can put all that in there. Has this been helpful so far? Been helpful to go through this? I'm going to start getting a little bit more complex with options, but I wanted to go through these first. Good. We'll turn this one off for today. By the way, while we were sitting here doing this, it was trying to run our decisions. We only had one decision. The answer was no for all the positions, so it didn't do anything. Right? It was trying to run these decisions while we were in there. All right, let's get a little bit more complex with stocks. Actually, let's build out a brand new bot. So that we can, let's give it something different. We'll give it 5 positions at a time. We'll give it 10 positions in max. So I just want to build this one out so we don't have any messing with the stuff that we're going to do tonight on the demo. On the demo tonight, we'll go through some of these other versions so you can see some of these, but I want to kind of build one out from scratch. Is that helpful? To build one out from scratch. So I'm going to add a scanner. I'm going to use this Masterclass one, but I'm going to change it. By the way, you can do this. This is the reason I'm doing this. And I want to change this one to an option scanner. And remember, when you change this, it changes across all of them. And I want to remove everything in here, start from scratch. Now, if you do this inside of the bots, anything that's using this scanner will now use the new one that you build. So the reusability of it is great because it allows you to dynamically change things on the fly. However, just got to be careful. When in doubt, build one out. Right? Oh, God, dad jokes. So first thing I want to do here is I want to make a decision, and it's going to be a macro level set of decisions. This one came from a conversation that I had with a friend of mine last night who called me at like 10:30 at night. So Brian, if you're on this call right now, you know you called me at 10:30 last night. And he was asking the question. He said, look, I want to make all of my bots check to see if the market is crashing before anything else. Now, this is just a bunch of ways you can do this, but it's how you can build these out. The first thing that I'm going to do is check to see if the VIX is below 40. That's one thing that I'm going to do. I want to see if the VIX is below 40, because for me, if the VIX is below 40, that means that generally things are pretty calm in the market. Doesn't mean that something crazy can't happen, but it might be just a good check to see if that markets are calm and not kind of going banana crazy. The other thing I might do is I might want to check and see if SPY's price has not decreased. Let me do this. I'm going to group these into decisions right behind each other. So I want to check and see if the VIX is below 40. That's the first decision I want to make. If it is below 40, I want to see if the S&P's price is crashing. So I type in S&P. I want to see if the price is down. Let's say our crash threshold is 10% since yesterday. Okay. 10% since yesterday. By the way, William had a great question. Can I trade only at certain hours? I'll show you how to do that when we do scheduling of automations. Is that fair? So these are the first two things that would globally tell me not to do anything. If the VIX is not below 40 and it's rallying, don't do anything. If the VIX is below 40, but the S&P's price is down 10% and the VIX just hasn't caught up to that, don't do anything. So if the answer to this question is yes, I'm not going to do anything. Now what I want to do is I want to start making some real decisions, I guess you could say. These are both real decisions, but these are kind of the crash-proof filters that are right up front. One of the first decisions I could make is I could check to see if some symbol, and again, we'll put in the ticker input field, if the, let's say the 7-day RSI is above 70. So I want to start trading some dynamic credit spreads and some iron condors, right? I want to start figuring out how I want to put that together. The first thing that I would check is the ticker's 7-day RSI above 70? And I might want to also check another ticker, another indicator. That same ticker I can check and see if the 14-day CCI is above 150. So both of these would have to be true in order for me to continue down the yes path. I could also layer another decision right inside of here as well. I could also say that these two things have to be true in addition to the fact that the symbol has to be in an uptrend. I'm getting very complex with adding these, but again, you can see the level that you can get to if you wanted to. And I can nest a group of decisions inside of here that could be like the ones that we had before, where I check that not only the symbol is in an uptrend, but the 50-day moving average is above the 200-day moving average. So now I have a very complex set of things that have to be right in order for me to continue down the next step. Now, I promised you I would start to get more complex, and that's what I'm doing. RSI has to be above 70. CCI has to be above 150. The ticker price has to be above the 200-day moving average. And the 50-day has to be above the 200. Both of these have to be true in addition to all of these, or I could say either of these have to be true in addition to these two as well. So you can nest and nest and nest decisions to your heart's content. You can further nest within nests and groups and continue to go down that path if you wanted to. That all would have to be done on one level, or you could split them out like I did here. And then I say save. Now, if all of that is true, maybe what I want to do is enter a short call spread. So I say, yes, I want to open a short call spread position on that same ticker. So I reuse the same input. I can go in here to the days to expiration. And I can say, okay, I want to do 60 days to expiration, only the monthly contracts. I want to sell the 25 delta, or you can type in a certain strike. And I want to do 2 contracts at a time. Done. Now, that will use the settings that you'll have in your account for like limits or smart pricing. We'll have those in there too. But does anybody do any filtering before you get to that stage? Before you get to that stage? Like, do you want to check open interest or bid-ask spread? Or maybe you want to check the expectancy on that type of position, the expected payout on that type of position. So what you can do here is you can precede this decision with what we call an opportunity filter. So we know we want to eventually sell a short call spread. You guys agree? That's the goal. The goal is to sell the short call spread. But before we get to that point, we want to filter that opportunity to make sure it meets our criteria. one of the classic ways that you can filter it is to make sure that it's got a tight bid-ask spread. So now here, you can select the opportunity. It's smart enough to know that you just had built out this particular position. So it says, oh, you want to check the one you just built out? Yeah, I would like to check that. Thank you. 60 days out, a 25 delta and a 10 delta. I want to check that position and make sure that the bid-ask spread is less than 8 cents. That's my first opportunity filter. Notice you can get more complex with this too. You can say, I want to see if the rate of return on that opportunity is greater than, let's say, 30%. This trade was selling a 25 delta. You can just click on it here and see it again. Yeah, we were selling a 25 delta. So the probability of success on that trade is probably somewhere around 75%, 75%. If you collect a premium and a rate of return that's 30%, so 30% of the width of the strikes, if it's a $5 wide spread, you'd collect $1.50. That is a positive expected outcome trade, where the premium more than covers the probability on the surface level of the trade being a loser. Did I say that right, Rob? Right? So you can filter by that type of pricing right here in the platform. I'll let you guys digest just how powerful this is. But that right there is nowhere, anywhere, on any platform. The ability to filter automatically for pricing and probability anywhere. How many times have you made that calculate? Look, I do it all the time. Phone, I just go out and I go, okay, there's an $8 wide spread. If I ideally wanted to collect the premium, I would do this, right? That is how powerful that is. It's so stupidly powerful. That right there could pay for the whole thing for you. And it checks pricing, and it checks the spread. But let's say you're just like, you know what? I want to take it a step further. I don't want to check just that. I want to also check one particular value of the short or long call leg. I want to check this opportunity, that call spread, look at that call spread, check the short leg open interest, and make sure that the open interest is greater than 1,000 contracts. Because that short leg is going to be the one that I hinge everything off of. And I got to make sure that the spread is tight, that the premium is high, and that there's liquidity in there being a lot of open interest at that particular leg. And all of these have to be true. This and this and this have to be true. There's some other ones in here. You can check the value of certain bid prices or ask prices or changes or deltas. You can cross-reference the theta of positions. You can also say, and that the chance of profit, this is so cool. Rob, tell me if I'm saying this right? But the chance of profit is calculating your break-even point on the position. It takes the credit and the strikes and figures out where that break-even point is as your probability of profiting on the position, or the probability that it's in the money on one of the strikes, or that it's at max loss is less than whatever. So you can also cross-reference these different probability filters within the opportunity filters themselves. So all of this has to be then true in order for you to continue down the path. So I'll just say save. Now what this is doing is it's going to look for all of these to be true, right? All of these have to be true. And then all of these have to be true. And only if all of those are true does it submit the order. Oh, and by the way, it uses smart pricing if you wanted it to. It uses smart pricing if you wanted it to then try to scalp the order and get better pricing for you. Does this so far make sense? We've only done one side of this very dynamic strategy. First, we check some very high level macro things. And if either of these happen, we don't continue. We don't continue down the automation. If the VIX is above 40 or if the S&P's price is dropping 10%, we just stop. We don't enter anything. That means that the VIX could be above 50 and the market could be like trying to recover. But if the VIX is too high, then we don't enter new positions. It's like it automatically turns off itself for various market conditions. Guys, you can't do that on anything anywhere. Show me any place that you can do this automatically. It does not exist. You think this would save you time? Like, we're trying to save you so much time so you can think through these things versus monitor them, versus mindlessly looking at your charts and trying to monitor these things by yourself. You don't need to do that anymore. All right, so let's continue down this path. We're going to just keep working with this and keep building this out. Now that you have, let's say the answer to these questions is some version of no. Maybe the ticker is not overbought. Maybe the 14-day CSI is not overbought. Whatever your filters are, your indicators, whatever. So now what you want to check is you want to check and see, are they oversold? Right? So now you go down here and you're like, okay, all the tickers are not overbought. But what if my 7-day RSI value, can you check and see if it's below 30 now? So if nothing's overbought, can I see if things are oversold? And I can do a 14-day CCI, and I can check and see if that value is below negative 150, because that's the readings on CCI. And let's say these are the only two things I want to do here. And then I hit save. So if the ticker is not overbought, can I check and see if the ticker is oversold? And if the ticker is oversold, I don't want to enter a bearish position. I want to enter a bullish position. Maybe what I want to do is I want to enter a short put spread. So I build out the framework of my short put spread. Maybe this one's going to be 45 days or 40 days to expiration. Maybe I want to do this one a little bit further out. I want to sell the 20 delta and I want to buy the 5 delta. So I want to, make this a little bit more dynamic, and I want to do more contracts. The other one I did just 2, I believe. I'll do this one as 4 contracts. So notice, if the ticker is overbought, I'm going to do a very different type of strategy. If the ticker's oversold, I'm going to do a completely different type of strategy. Now remember, I still might want to proceed this with filters. I might want to filter this particular opportunity to make sure that the opportunity, and notice it's smart enough to recognize that you already have some ones built out. The bot's like, oh, here are the recent ones you built out. Yeah, this 40-day to expiration. Yep, that's the one I want to check. I want to make sure I'm collecting not 30%, let's say 25%, because this one is built out someplace else. This one's delta is different. This is a 20 delta, so I want a 25% premium. 30 might be too high, I might not collect it. And I want to check some of the position metrics. For example, I want to check the short strike this time of the put leg, not the call leg. I want to check the short put leg and the open interest and make sure that short put leg has open interest of 1,000 contracts as well. And I want to check to see if the probability of a profit on this position, is greater than 80%. I mean, wow, that is nuts that you can do that. Have you guys ever tried to check this 1,000 times in the day for hundreds of tickers if you wanted to? Do you realize? Let me just take 1 second and pause here for a second, just so you see. I think in this fast-moving world that we have, everyone so far has been focused on commissions for the most part. How can I save 50 cents on commissions? What I've been telling everyone for years and years is that speed and execution trump commissions all day. Because if you can get into and out of great positions faster, and even using smart pricing to scalp pricing, so what if you have a 50 cents commission when you can get into a position faster, out faster, and smart pricing saved you $2 on the way in? And you didn't have to do any of the manual stuff around it. It's truly just, it's kind of mind-blowing if you think about the opportunity here. So these are all my filters. Notice my decision tree is getting pretty complex. Is this, you guys following along on this, by the way? Is this helping out? This helping out? Okay, great. I just want to make sure, like, I've never gone through it in this level of specificity. If you want to know how smart pricing works, just go back through the earlier part of this video later. Not right now, but later. And I walk through it. Also, we're going to talk through it tonight on the demo at 7 o'clock. We'll talk through it tonight on the demo at 7. So now let's continue all the way down this path over here. So here, if the ticker is not overbought nor oversold, maybe I want to trade some other type of strategy. Maybe I want to open an iron condor position. And I go through the same process to do the iron condor. I could even precede the iron condor with a set of its own opportunity filters. Maybe I want to make sure that the bid-ask spread on this iron condor is less than 10 cents, because maybe it might be wider or whatever the case is. So now I've built out this very complex, and it's really not that complex. I say complex because it looks like it's a lot, but it has a lot of logic built into it. This now is a very dynamic filter or scanner. This option scanner could enter 3 very different sets of positions. 3 very different sets of positions. And remember, it's checking first to see if the market is crashing. That's the first level of defense. What if before the iron condor position, you wanted to check a different set of criteria, like does the symbol report earnings? Maybe because you're getting into a neutral position, you want to see, okay, does the symbol report earnings in more than 60 days? And now you build that out. Okay, great. If it does report earnings in more than 60 days, then I'm comfortable entering a trade that's neutral where I could get banged up on either side. And when you do that on the back end, our sweet, sweet, sweet code and algorithm rewrites the bot for you dynamically. And when I'm done here, I'll create a clone and you guys can use this. This is the power of doing this. Notice how threaded we can get in here with things if we wanted to. So let's assume that's the one that we want to go with. Okay, that masterclass option scanner. That mega one. That's now going to get us into some dynamic strategies. And we just have to type in the symbol because remember that symbol field was the one that we wanted to use. So now that we have the mega Mac Daddy of scanners, we need to add some monitors. Now look, the monitors can monitor any position we want, or in this case, because we know that this strategy could enter how many different positions? It could enter 3 different types of positions. A put credit spread, a call credit spread, and an iron condor. We could now build out specific sequences for each one of those. So let's do it. So let's start with the short call spread. Anytime a short call spread is opened in this bot, we want to run it through this manager, which I've already pre-built out that we'll use here, called the call spread manager. And because I use it over and over again, it goes through the same repetitious steps, which look like this. Did the premium go down by 25% since it was opened? Basically, since I'm selling a option strategy, when the premium goes down, that represents a profit. So I can buy back the position. And if the position expires in 2 days or has been opened for more than 20 days, and I just added that in there from the last demo, then close the position. But if I didn't want that, I could say, all right, remove that. If the position expires in 2 days and I never had a profit, close the position. But that might not be everything, right? That might not be everything I want to do. What if I want to make other decisions? Well, I could proceed this with some other factors. I could go back in here and I could say, okay, since I sold this short call spread, and the reason I sold the short call spread was based on some of those indicators, do you remember? Let's check and see if that ticker's RSI, we'll use that same input, if that ticker's 7-day RSI reading is now below 50. It doesn't have to be the opposite direction, but let's check that ticker's RSI reading again and see if it's below 50. Remember, I sold the short call spread when the RSI was above 70. So what if the RSI is now below 50 and I could do an or statement here because one of them could be how I get out. What if the 14-day CCI, remember that one? If that reading is now below 0, because that's the reading on it. If that reading is now below 0. So if either of these are true, we're now using the same types of indicators if that's what you wanted to use. If either of these are true, that could lead me down the yes path towards a closing decision. So let's remove this here and we'll just build this out again from scratch. If these are true, I could also check just to make sure that I have a profit before I close the position, right? That kind of seems intuitive, but make sure that the position premium has gone down. Maybe say my profit threshold is 10%. Now think about this. This is where I really want to encourage you to think through your thought, everything in your strategy. if you check and see if you have a 25% profit and you don't, do you think that it's possible that the technical readings could be at a level that would suggest a profit, but you may not have one yet? Very true. The stock could be going down, volatility could be going up, and therefore your option position hasn't profited yet, although it's moving in the right direction. So that's why you can, again, nest some of these decisions in here to say, okay, if the indicators are in the right zone, make sure I have at least a 10% profit. And then, only then, do I close the position. Because if I don't have a 10% profit, just wait, end the automation and redo it again. Redo it again. By the way, this automation here, I've specifically set up to run just on short call spreads. So that's how it would only run on short call spreads and not short put spreads. I set that up when I set up the settings of the automation. You could also set up inside internally if you wanted to as well. But I like to split them out so that I have different managers for different types. Now let's say that the CCI is not below this reading. I could again check to see if I have a profit. I mean, there's nothing stopping me from making a series of decisions whenever I want. I could say, okay, if I don't have a profit and the CCI reading isn't where I want, if I'm 15 days from expiration, maybe I want to check now, and only when I'm a couple weeks out from expiration, if I have a 10% profit now. Now, how many of you, by the way, you would take a profit of 25%, but if you get close to expiration, you might go to yourself, say to yourself, well, I'm running short on time, so can I just take a 10% profit? So think about what this manager is doing every day, all day. It's running through this the whole time. Do I have a 25% profit? Yes, take it. Okay, I don't have a 25% profit. Are the technical readings below the level that would suggest that it was a good call to get into this position? I was selling it when the technicals are high and then the technicals dropped. Okay, and then just double check to make sure I have a 10% profit. Close the position. If that isn't true, am I running out of time? Am I running out of time on this position? And if I am running out of time, do I have a 10% profit? What if I don't have a 10% profit? I can just keep going down this whole thing and just make other daily decisions. I can just extend this thing as far as I want it to go. But that's a call spread manager. This is exactly how call spreads would run themselves. So let's look at a different version now. So that's the call spread manager. And I could let this one run, same symbol. But I also have the opportunity to enter a put spread. So now I go up here to monitor and I say, hey bot, monitor any short put spread position in my account now. No, don't forget, don't do anything with the call spreads. The call spread manager has those. Don't do the iron condors yet because I'll do those later. Right now, anything that's a short put spread, run it through my put spread manager. Again, I've already built this out in other ones. It looks like this. Check a 50% profit. And if I have a 50% profit, close. If I am 15 days from expiration, check to see if I have a 25% profit, then close. And here's the really cool one that you can start to thread in here. Now you can start to check and see if the position is getting challenged. So if I'm not 15 days from expiration, or whenever I want to check this, can I check and see if the position's underlying price is below my long put strike? How many of you use a certain threshold or metric to determine when to make an adjustment or even when to consider making an adjustment. Right? So now I can check, did the underlying price breach my long put strike? Or I can also group a set of decisions here and say, is the position's long put strike delta, the long put leg delta, is that value greater than 50? Basically, the stock may not exactly have breached my long strike, so I want to check the delta and do an either or statement here. Did the stock breach my long put strike? Did it go down enough to go under my long put strike? Or did the long put delta value go up to a 50? How cool is that? Again, I would challenge you to figure out how much time you waste monitoring this yourself. And even if you set up some cool little alert to let you know that something was happening, you have to reset up those alerts on every single position. It's just mind-numbing that we do this anymore. Clearly, you can have bots do this for you. So now it dynamically checks two different factors. And if either of those are true, you could set up a series of decisions to close the position and reopen a new position, effectively rolling the position to the next expiration period. You could say, okay, go ahead and create that ticker input and roll this position out to a position that's now 60 days out instead of my original 45. And you set up a series of decisions right behind each other. Notice that you can stack these actions right on top of one another. That effectively executes the rolling of the position right there. And it's triggered by these metrics here. So whatever those metrics are, you can put a bunch of these in here. Remember the deck of cards? It's limitless possibilities. Whatever would tell you to start closing and removing the position. What I would do in here is I would put another decision in here that says that I'm also, say, 10 days from expiration. Right? That's what I would put in there. Because you could be 15 days from expiration, but do you want to roll at that level? Maybe you only want to roll at 10 days, and then you could build out other decisions that are at 15 days. You can put them in separate places, or you can put them inside of threaded, nested groups together. And if you never got challenged, you never had a profit, and it was 2 days before expiration, close. Now you just avoid all the assignment mess, whatever that threshold is for you. Notice that this put spread manager is wildly different than our call spread manager. Call spread manager uses a combination of the data points from the stock itself and then also some technicals, right? The put spread manager has no technicals anywhere. You could reuse them, you could use bits and pieces, you could put them into whatever combination you want. Is that helpful? For those of you still on here, are you thinking about how creative you could get? Is your mind starting to go towards the, like, oh, what if I did this and what if I did that? Because that's what I think is so cool about it. I'm checking the comments and chat as you guys are going through here. Let's continue down this path. By the way, I thrive on comments, so you can keep adding them. Thanks, MacD Daddy. So boom. Next one up. Oh, I forgot to actually save it. Monitor any short put spread. I want to use my put spread manager. And done. Okay. Now we got to monitor that other position that we have. Remember, our master option scanner could have entered a call spread. Check. We got a manager for that. Short put spread. Check. Got a manager for that. Oh, that's right. We've got an iron condor position that we want to monitor as well. So we build up a monitor. And we say, hey, monitor, this time you only watch for iron condor positions. That's it. Don't you dare touch anything else. And iron condor positions go through the iron condor manager, which is here. Now what we do is we make a different set of similar decisions if we want to, just in maybe a different order. Check for 50% profit. And then here we check to see if we're challenged on either side of our bot. Are we challenged on the call strike? Did the underlying price go above my short call strike, or did the underlying price go below my short put strike? Now I can dynamically watch both sides of the iron condor position. Or you could say, you could have another one that says, or again, if you wanted to, if it's a stock that has a symbol, right? Or does the ticker report earnings in more than 60 days? Or let's say, no, you know what? Let's do this. In less than 10 days. So now if I'm challenged on the position, or if the stock reports earnings, close the position. Just close it. I don't even want to do an adjustment. I just want to close it and free up space in the portfolio for another one. And if I'm not challenged on either of these legs, the ticker doesn't report earnings in 10 days, and the position expires in 10 days, check to see if I have a 25% profit, because maybe I do at that point. Maybe I never had a 50% profit, but I might have a 25. And now what I've done here by adding this in is I've now given myself the flexibility of having one scanner and multiple ways to manage it. Done. I just let the scanner dynamically choose how it wants to enter the position based on the market criteria. Pretty great. Good stuff. All right, I want to do this for just a minute or two. I want to do this for just a minute or two. But I'm going to take a little quick break. Need to get some more tea. And I'll be back in 5 minutes. Does that sound good? Be back in 5 minutes. Okay? Need to grab some tea. Be back in 5. All right, welcome everyone. Come on back. It's so hot in here, if you can believe it. Turn on the fan. Everyone back? Yeah, come on back. Hello, hello, hello. We'll get back into the bots here. By the way, just give me your feedback. What do you guys think? Has this been helpful? What's your biggest takeaway? Did you see something you didn't know existed before? Or did you think of some way you could use bots that you haven't thought about using it before? Biggest takeaway is all the foam on the wall. Well, that's probably because it's really hot. Yeah, it could be that too. But unfortunately, the office building that I'm in is this old, like old Pittsburgh mining railroad company office building, which is really wicked cool. And I just have a small corner of it, but it's only got one setting. It's either hot or not. So they either turn on the heat through the radiators or they don't. And then it's like freezing. So I never know. So yeah, if you're in here right now, just let me know really quick in the chat. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, wherever you're at, what is the thing that you learned from this that is like the biggest takeaway for you? What's the biggest takeaway for you so far? What's the one thing you learned in bots that you didn't think they could do or you could use now moving forward? Let me know in the comments. We'll keep going here. Nothing, you didn't learn anything? Flexibility? So flexible. Yep. We're still live on YouTube. For all the YouTube people. All right, good. Let's keep going here. You guys with us on YouTube? Hello? Are you alive? Hello? You there? All right, let's keep going. One thing I forgot to mention in here, and I thought this was good. I forgot to mention in here, but if you want to avoid those pattern day trading things, those rules, you just put that right up front. Again, you proceed everything with that decision for, is the position, has it been opened less than a day? That just becomes your default for right up front for everything. So notice everything happens. Here, we'll do it more than a day. Whoops. More than 1 day. So if it's less than a day, nothing happens until it's been open for more than a day. That's why I think it's so cool, because then now you can build that logic in here. Remember, this position manager runs for every position every time throughout the day, like every 15 minutes throughout the day. Every single position. It's going through all of these criteria until it reaches an endpoint. So it could run, and 10 of your positions could have been open for 5 days, and those 10 all go through the framework. Yeah, it's been open for more than a day. Boom, all of these. That's how you avoid it right there. It's that simple. And then, but you stop yourself in your tracks from getting into those pattern day trading rules or having issues with them. It's pretty cool how you can put all these together. By the way, if you use another bot, like this one is one I build out on the demos that's I'll build out tonight too, called the Honey Badger. But do you notice how you reuse the same monitors? This is a completely different set of scans that it goes through, which if you want to join us tonight, you can see that. But it's a completely different set of scans, and it monitors positions exactly the same. It uses the same put spread, call spread monitors that we have already. So once you have one or two of these in place, the reusability of these things is bananas. Bananas that you can reuse these things over and over and over again. And you can combine different scanners. So this masterclass automation, we built out this option scanner. That one's already built out now. So if I want to add it to the Honey Badger, I just add a scanner, go into the one that I already have, which is the one built out here, type in the symbol I want it to run on, and hit save. Now this bot reuses this scanner in addition to the one that it already has. Flexibility and scale. Flexibility and scale. That's the beauty of this whole thing. Now, when you go into the log, you can see if anything ever ran into an error, had a problem. This one didn't even have iron condors managing until we made adjustments that blew it out. But it was just going through its process of making positions. The daily iron condor one here, if you go to the log here, and you go to earlier today, I tried to force a trade. I tried to force a position in. You could see it could not add a position because we reached our daily limit of 1. And then I changed the limit to 2 the next minute and opened the position, and then it filled. So it's going through those decisions for you, and it's adhering to the tolerances that you put in there if it reaches those thresholds. Let's talk about buttons. This is the button bot. The button bot, I can see we're only in one place here. Wonder what happened. We're only on and we should still be on YouTube. You guys on YouTube still with us? Rocco, can you guys check, or Rob, somebody? So this is the button bot. The button bot, what it does is it has a series of buttons that you can build. Now, I'm telling you guys, this is going to be, I don't even know how you guys are going to put this together. In the sense of, like, I can't wait to see what types of things you guys were going to do with it. What types of things you're going to do with it. Because what you can do is you can add scanners and monitors, which we've done. But what you can also do is you can also add buttons that run automations at the click of a button. And notice that these buttons get added right to your dashboard. So this first one that I have, and it's just like all the other ones, you just set up your button, you name it, whatever you want your button to be. You add a color or a style, and then you tell it which automation to run. It can run an automation that you're used to running, or it can run a brand new one. Like this one, which is called Blast Index Spreads. So if I go through this one, this button does no decision making. None. All it does is it opens a series of 3 trades right in a row. A long call spread, a long call spread, and some open long puts to hedge them. That's it. That's all it does. So whenever I push that button, it's going to try to trigger all of those trades. Now in this case, I already have 10 positions. So if I try to push that button and run this automation, I can go right over to the log. Once that automation runs, refresh it here. And you can see I got an error that says you already have your 10 positions open. So it stopped right away. Prevented it from over trading because I told the bot you only get 10 positions at a time. But if I wanted to, I could come over here, close a bunch of these positions. So yeah, I'll close that. Close this position. Close this one. Free up some capital in my account. Got 3 positions now that are open. Let me check my settings. Do I allow myself? Yeah, I can do 10 positions a day. And now I say blast index spreads. And I've got 3 brand new positions that just got opened. Right here. Boom, boom, boom. Done. So I can just use buttons to manipulate bots and run them whenever I want to click those. Notice I did those out of sequence whenever I wanted to. I can choose to interact with the bot and let things happen manually, or I can use buttons to execute things immediately. I manually closed these positions, right? And then I executed brand new positions. With a click of a button, I had 3 positions get executed right there. Pretty cool, right? You can have the ability for the bot to do that. So now it's got its full quota again of 10 positions. It's ready to go. I could also add a button that does whatever unique thing I want for that particular bot. Like, what if I just want a button that just opens a classic iron condor? So I build out an automation called classic iron condor. Maybe I want one decision to determine what type of style, 60 days from expiration or 30 days from expiration. And whenever I click that button, it just opens a classic position. And so buttons are really cool because they allow you to build some really quick functionality right into your bot. At the click of a button. Now again, inside the log, you can see all the things that it's doing. You can see because it's ticked over 330. We had some puts that we're managing. So it's going through its decision to go through and manage the existing positions that we had. And you can always check the notifications up here for any errors, like you didn't type in a ticker symbol, or in this case, we just went through the honey badger, right? Had some errors because we didn't type in, we messed with some of the automations that were there, so we were building them out. But the notifications up here tell you exactly what's going on in your account, and you can see what happens in each one of these different bots if there's something going on. The other thing that you can do is you can schedule automations to run. You can schedule automations to run. So I remember I promised somebody the other day, if we scheduled automations to run, we can schedule automations to run instead of running continuously. Instead of running continuously. So here's an example of that. This iron condor position runs, this iron condor automation runs every day at 12 o'clock. Every day at 12 o'clock, this automation runs. That means that I have control over when the automation runs. If I only wanted to run on a certain schedule, I can determine that schedule myself. So let's build out a different one. Let's reuse one of the other automations that we already built out. So in this case, I want to enter a daily iron condor or whatever it's called. I click on an event automation. And this is what's really cool, how you can trigger things just dynamically. You can run this event right now. That's basically like running it as a button. You could run it on a specific date in the future. So the election's coming up, right? So I could say, hey, guess what? On Wednesday morning at 9:45, run this specific automation because I'm not going to be available to watch my positions the day after the election. Does that sound pretty cool? That's a one-off thing where maybe I want to check some VIX value and hedge my portfolio if I wanted to, or check my positions to see if anything's getting challenged. And that's a one-off automation that I run. Maybe I run the automation, is the market crashing? And I run it just once on November 4th. That's it. So if you're flying, whenever we fly again, if you're someplace else, then you have the ability to use just that one time. Does that help out? By the way, if you are on YouTube and you're adding comments, I don't know why I'm not seeing them right now. I've refreshed my side, but the team says it's coming in. So if they see it and they're helping respond to it, hopefully that helps out. I don't see it on my side. If you're on Facebook, I'm going to rely on you guys more. Now, if you want to add an automation that works on a reoccurring schedule, you can add a repeating schedule. And so you got to create your schedule first, and then you tell it which automation to start pulling in. So in this case, you tell it, okay, I want you to run every week on Monday and Friday. That's it. I don't even like trading the middle of the week. I just like trading on Monday and Friday. And I want this to run in the morning. Or no. I just want it to run at the end of the day. Right before the end of the day. Mondays and Fridays, that's the only time I want this to run. And I leave this blank because I never want it to end. So that's your schedule now. Your schedule is every Monday and Friday at 3:45. And that's the only time it will run. And that might be when you run your Honey Badger scan. And you tell it what symbol you want to run on, and then you're good. Or eventually you can tell it a list of symbols that you want to run on. So now every day at 12 o'clock it enters an iron condor, and only on Mondays and Fridays at 3:45 does it go ahead and do the Honey Badger scan, just twice a week. So if you're a newbie trader, this is how you could, if you want to, set up a very simple process to trade once a week, or scan the market once a day. Or if you wanted to, you can get pretty creative with this, and you can do like a portfolio management automation that runs every month on the last Friday. Or every 2 weeks, you run an automation to check positions that have profits. Every 2 weeks on Thursday. You can get insanely creative with how you run these. You don't have to run scans too. You can run other ones. You can run credit spreads. You can just make regular trades, like simple long calls. So every 2 weeks, you buy a long call. Yeah, you could run an earnings trade automate manager 15 minutes after the market opens. So events are pretty powerful too. And you can have events and you can have monitors and scanners, and you could do a combination of them, and you could have buttons. So I think the idea with doing this, so you guys know, is that we gave you the ability to do as many of these different versions as humanly possible. As many of these different versions as humanly possible so you can mix and match them into whatever combination works great for you. Any questions on those so far? Is that pretty cool? You like the events? All right, I see some of the YouTube questions in here. Gotta go. Somebody's like, I gotta go. Is this going to be redone? Oop. That's myself in there talking. I got them both up here so I can see it. Multifaceted. Yep, you got it. Multifaceted automations. No doubt. And you're right. Way more than humanly possible. Way more than humanly possible. Now, if you like any of these things, what we can always do is we can take like this one that we built out today, the Masterclass one, and we can save this as a template. And this is, guys, girls, gals, whoever, this to me is what, I mean, all the stuff that we talked about is cool, I think. I'm biased. It's true. But what we are going to show, like the ability to take all of this between all of you that are here and everyone who's joined and already in here and create templates that you can look in and investigate by yourself and say, yeah, I like that template. I like that template. And then I can go over here to the community and post that template for everybody. Here you go. You don't have to love everything about that template. But when I've now posted it to the community, you can choose to clone a version of it and then modify it for your own account. Never in the history of trading has this been possible. What we used to have to do is we used to have to go through the long process of understanding how somebody ran a strategy and understanding how the strategy worked. Now you just look at the template, look inside of it, and see all of the decisions that it makes. Notice you can't mess with it because it's not your template. But you can create a clone of it and save it, and now you have your own copy to mess with and work with. It's like giving you a recipe to make mac and cheese and you tweak one thing in that recipe. Maybe you like a little bit more cheese than I do, or whatever. Now, if you want to test these bots, the best way to do it is just to start them on paper mode. Backtesting and bots are two different things. Backtesting allows you to backtest a historical set of data, mostly end-of-day data, which we covered on the masterclass yesterday. But what I suggest you do as an elite member, because you're going to sign up, right? As an elite member, is you get 100 bots. This is why we're giving you so many. And take 80 of those bots and test a bunch of different strategies. Forward walk the strategies so that you have some confidence in how they're going to work moving forward. And by the way, you can add a bunch of notes to the templates. Here's how it works, right? Add a bunch of notes to your templates when you share them in the community, like what I'll do. Like this one's really built out. This one's the flash crash hedge. And I added my notes like what happens, when do I take profits? You can visually see inside of it and you can see how I build this out. And then you can choose to clone it or not. And if it's not your bot, you can see whose bot it is. Somebody asking the question, needs a box to see whose clone it is. So if you start a private discussion, by the way, so this one I shared in the public log, These are all the ones I shared in here. Jack shared his. So when I go to his, you can see I didn't create this one. This one's created by him. So if I save this to my library of templates, anytime I go to use it, I can't mess with or modify this. This is his template. But what I can do is I can create a clone of it and now use it as my own or modify it as my own. By the way, inside the library or inside the community, you can start private discussions with one another on templates and have a group chat. You don't have to always share things publicly. You can share with a couple of your trading buddies. So I would suggest everyone goes in there and finds a friend, get a friend to sign up, right? And if you clone a bot, run it paper until you understand it. But I think what's going to happen, I'll be totally honest with you. I think what's going to happen is this. Somebody adds a bot, or you guys add a bunch of bots, and we'll create maybe like leaderboards, lists. We'll do highlights on the podcast, features on like a spotlight, like, hey, this person created this bot and everyone loves it. Everyone likes running it. It seems like a simple one. It was based off of this. But I think this discussion thread on a bot is where you'll figure out other people, how they're using it, and if they're improving or if they're creating variations of it. So like, for example, this little thread here, I added a bot. Somebody could come in and modify it and then add the template back to me. Like, hey, I modified this bot. Here's my template based off of your template. That's how we all collectively get better as investors. I post it here and I say, right now I take 50% profits, blah, blah, blah. Someone else could come in and say, hey, I want to do this one, and I made a clone of it, and then I use it at 25% profits. Here's my template. And share ideas back and forth. And yeah, when you sign up and you do all the, I know Baron's in there. He's like, we got to have some verifications on all this. Yeah, we have you'll do a bunch of check boxes for specific things when you get in there. Steve asked a question, said, maybe an idea would be have the ability to generate a report that prints out the logic. Well, watch this. Watch this, Steve. Ready? Here's a bot that Rocco added called L Savage. I can click on it. I haven't cloned it. I haven't done anything. I can click on all of his automations in that bot, and I can see what the logic is right here. I don't need to print it out. I can just actually physically click through and see what the logic is for everything he's doing. I can see, visually look inside. I can't change anything, right? Because it's just a template. But if I made it my own, and I said, now this is the L Kirk bot, and I created a clone out of it, I go back into my bots here. I got L Kirk. Now I can go in and modify it, and I can say, you know what? He used a 20 IV. Nope, I like the 50. Boom. One change and done. One change and done. Maybe he took profits at 200% or whatever it was. Maybe I want to take it at 100, but I use the structure of the strategy and the framework of the bot to replicate it and then modify it as I see fit. Does that make sense? Does that help answer that question? When entering or exiting positions, somebody asked a question, said, when entering or exiting positions, if you're not using smart pricing, you just can use the limit order, or you can use GTC orders. And then you just have to modify what that limit or GTC order was. So you'd have to, in some cases, guess, unless you're watching the markets at the same time. But my thought on smart pricing is, once you know that smart pricing is going to walk through the bid-ask spread, why would you ever want to use anything other than smart pricing to get out of it? Because you can set your thresholds to say, hey, I'll walk this percentage through the bid-ask spread or this percentage through, and that'll keep you in line. But at least you should try different prices, right? When you look at a bot that's been cloned or a template, by the way, these are good questions that are coming in, so I'm just trying to answer as many of them as I can. When you look at a bot or a template, we don't post any of the performance metrics for that bot. And the reason we don't do that is because it's impossible to accurately reflect those. Case in point, if you were to run a strategy, the exact same strategy with 3 different allocations of capital, do you notice that this is the exact same strategy in a backtester with 3 completely different allocation strategies? Turns out to have 3 completely different risk profiles and performance. So there is no conceivable way that we could track accurately the performance of bots that people share, which is why we're opening up discussions around it. We give you the clones and the versions because that's frankly the best thing we can do. Now, eventually what you'll be able to do for everyone's account, if they so choose, is go in and follow that person and see the performance that they have chosen to share. Like I'll share all my performance and then you can see all the performance of bots that I choose to share publicly. And if people choose to share them, then they choose to share them. And that's their bots, right? But if I clone a bot and allocate 100% and I get to 1 bad trade, is it fair that that bot now has a 100% loser? Like it wasn't the strategy, it was the allocation, right? So it's a little bit more than just that. Does that help out? Performance of your own bots you can track right inside here. So right inside your dashboard, you'll see the performance of your own bots. Your returns, your win rates, your profit factors. We'll expand this out to some more metrics as well. Bots are not automatically shared. Nothing is automatically shared. Nothing is automatically shared. You choose to share what you want to share into the community. And you don't have to share anything if you don't want to share anything. Does that help out? If you want to delete a bot, you just turn it off. As long as it's got no positions, right? Can't delete a bot with a position. You'd have to close out all the positions and you just delete a bot. And then you're done. So if you don't want this other one, right? Or you want to turn it off or turn it on or whatever. But you can't delete a bot that has existing positions. You got to do something with those positions or wait until they get managed out. And then you can turn them off. And then you can turn them off. Again, you can reuse a lot of these monitor actions in different places. This one has the same monitors, but has a RSI swing trading strategy. It just looks at RSI and trades some credit spreads on a swing trading strategy. But usually if there's nothing to be done, it just skips trades, right? It just said like, oh, RSI is not overbought, it's not oversold. It just skips it. Right? It goes through the entire set of automations. And if nothing is true, that would create a situation of a tradable event. Then it would just wait until a tradable event occurred. And this is what this one does. This particular bot is looking for opportunities to make a swing trade RSI type trade. And if it never finds those, like it didn't find some today, right? RSI wasn't overbought, it wasn't oversold. It just is what it just was middle. It was middle of the road. There's no tradable event there. No tradable event there. So let me know what questions you guys have. I think that pretty much, I know we have like a little bit of time left, obviously, but I think that we've kind of hit as many of the nails on the head as I think that we would get to today. we really got deep into these automations, and I think we really got deep into the actual specifics of using all the decisions and the criteria around the decisions. If there's something you missed, let me know, or go back and rewatch it if you need to. But let me know what questions you guys have in here so we can try to answer as many of these as possible. Someone said, does the dashboard show available cash? Yep. So it shows the cash right down here. It says how much you have available to trade, your net liquidity, your allocation. We can continue to expand these out as you guys give us feedback. Like if you want to see, I don't know, some other metrics in here, let us know. Add it to the wish list. Can you export a log of the performance stats? Not yet, but we're building out a tool called the journal, which is basically going to be your log for tracking performance and associating groups of performance together. That's where a lot of that data is going to live. So the journal will be able to automatically pull in and associate trades and history for you. And then you can see what your performance is for different types of market scenarios. It says, when you, Kirk, enter a trade, will you identify the bot you used or didn't use? So I'll make all of my bots and share them publicly. I'll start the train on that. And feel free to critique, improve. I hope you do. Improve. Figure out ways that I can become better as a trader myself. Voice did hold out pretty good today. We still have a demo tonight, so we'll see what happens. But the tea is helping. I've been pounding this tea at no coffee, which if anybody knows me knows that is just it's just not cool. John said, I'm still not connecting the dots on making a monitor absolutely sure that it closes the scan I have set up. So you got to think through. I think there's two things that come into play here. One, I think, is make sure that your monitor is watching all the types of trades that could be opened. So if you have scanners that could open put spreads or call spreads or iron condors, make sure you have a monitor that watches either each of those or thinks about each of those types of positions. The second thing that you should do is just talk it out in your, I would do it because that's how I do it, is I would talk out the entire expiration month multiple times. So I would say to myself, okay, I've got a put spread. What happens if the market goes up? What happens if the market stays sideways? What happens if the market goes down? When do I adjust? What happens if I run out of time? What happens if I'm 10 days? What happens if I'm 15 days? And talk out all of those things, and then you can get them into bots. By the way, we're going to be building out a lot of these templates for you so that you have a starting point to say, look, here's how you could manage a put spread. Here's how you could manage a call spread. Here's how you could manage a iron condor. Here's how you could manage a long call. Here's an adjustment strategy for a put spread, an adjustment strategy for a call spread, so that you have a lot of variation to get some ideas or bit and piece them together. Good? Okay, great. Upvote for the journal. You got it. It's coming. We had to cut something for launch because we want to get the bots out. And that was one thing that was like, look, we'll put it on the back burner for now, and then we'll get to it soon. Will this work on futures? Not on futures. Futures are not even supported through broker APIs. So in the future, if brokers support futures, then we could support it in the future. Question was, I asked this before, but will the bot be able to pull tickers from the watch list to enter trades? So the answer here is yes. You'll have the ability to use what we'll call a repeater function. The repeater function repeats through either positions or eventually will repeat through a list of tickers. Just a clarification here for legal, you've got to define the list of tickers that you want us to scan. We can't arbitrarily scan every stock in the universe, because what'll happen is, put yourself in my shoes for a minute, it enters some random ticker symbol that you really didn't want it to enter, but you said scan the whole list of the universe, right? So that's why we won't do that. You'll just have to define it, but then you can reuse the automation over and over again, right? And you saw how easy it was today, hopefully, to go through and pick and choose those. J-Try said, can the bot decide between an iron condor and a vertical? Yep. That's one of the ones we built out today. Whatever the framework is that would lead you to enter an iron condor versus a vertical, you could build out that logic right inside the bot so that the bot decides which one you did. That's the one that we built out that was the masterclass, this one right here. This one right here. This masterclass option scanner, it could enter a couple different verticals or an iron condor. Right there. Robert said, I was on YouTube yesterday, part of the day. Tried to get the comments, wasn't working. Yeah, sometimes it wasn't working for comments for us too. Wish it would. Do I have to use a specific brokerage account for this automation? I think, Dave, they answered you in email. But right now we integrate with TD Ameritrade, so Thinkorswim. We'll have an integration soon with TradeStation, Tradier. We're working with Tastyworks to get that signed. We don't have the official signed agreement with them, but we're very hopeful we'll have one in the future. We're just going back and forth on legal. Will the journal be included in the lifetime, or will it be separate? Nope, it'll be included. The journal for sure will be included. That's one that we definitely want to give so that you have the ability to track all this for sure. Yep. We haven't built out a bot that does a straddle strangle because we don't support right now straddles and strangles. We're doing everything in this beta phase risk defined. Eventually we'll get to that point, but we want to do everything risk defined. So we're going to force you to buy the long wing, and you could buy it for $1 if you want to. You can make it defined, and it could be $20 wide, but you got to do it defined, at least during this stage. We're going to start rolling out. Jim asked the question, when's it going to be available? We'll start rolling it out in small groups over the next week or so. The first group of, say, 10 or 20, we'll work with those people closely to make sure that it's working for them, that they get connected, everything's good. Then we'll open up later on another group of, say, 20 to 30, make sure they're good, open up another group of 40 to 50, 100, 200, 500, thousands at a time so that we get everybody in. So over the next month, 2 months, you'll get into rotation. Whatever your order comes up and random number is assigned, you'll get access. Thanks, MacD Daddy, for being here. Appreciate it. William says, great session, learned a lot. The demo tonight is 7 o'clock. So we're going to be repeating a couple of the things in here. We went really deep into the automations themselves. Tonight we'll show you a lot more versions of positions or of bots that we can build. But if you can join us tonight at 7 o'clock, that's it. The public launch is February 1st. So if you are not an elite member and you don't join, the best pricing is until November 1st, so about like 60 hours from now, whatever that is. Then you can join February 1st, but there's no lifetime choice for elite membership. You would only have to pay at the monthly level. Here's a good question. Keaton said, could there ever be an error in coding that makes us lose money? I can promise you this, there won't be an error in the execution of the bots. The bots are going to make the decisions and submit the orders that you tell it to make. This is why I tell people it's so important to paper trade your bots, because even if you think you have it down, just paper trade it so that you are sure you know what it's doing. Because the bots will go through the sequence of decisions and place the trades that you tell it to make. But they're not going to skip over those steps. Like, they're going to go in sequence and they're going to go through the logical framework to do it. So just make sure you paper trade all of your bots first, just even for a day or two, to make sure that they're going through the logical steps that you wanted to go through. Does that help out? Can we train using paper money before actually launching? Of course, I encourage you to do it. I encourage you, if you have an elite membership, you get 100 bots. Take 80, 90, 100 bots if you want to. Paper trade them all and get really good at it before you start throwing gasoline on the fire, right? Before you start putting high octane fuel in the engine. How do we know a bot is foolproof? Well, the bots are foolproof in that they'll make all the decisions you tell it to make. It'll stop when you tell it to stop. If you turn it off, it'll turn off. If you tell it don't enter more than 10 positions, it won't enter more than 10 positions. But it will execute whatever strategy you tell it to make. That's why we spent so much time yesterday going through in Masterclass number 1, backtesting, liquid tickers, trade duration, position size, because those inputs are what is going to feed into the bots. So this is why bots are great, because bots can execute and do all that automatically so that it frees up your time to focus on the strategy, tactical. I shared this yesterday. It focuses on this side of Otis, the strategic side of this whole business. If you didn't watch this yesterday, watch this video yesterday and masterclass on Otis, because that is where your time is spent focusing. Does that help? Yep, exactly what I want. Great. This is so good. We're going to continue to build out a bunch of documentation, training, webinars. I mean, look, during this beta phase, my goal is going to be to just try to help out as much as possible. And that's for our whole team, right? And so when we now start to hear what the questions are, what the reoccurring issues are or hurdles that people just don't understand, that's when we start building out support documents and help and whatever. But we're going to do a lot of hand-holding and kind of showing you along the way how to do this. And so it's going to be a little bit of a process, but then we'll continue to build out tons and tons of support documents for it. Already are starting that process. Larry said, realistically, how long for an agreement with Tastyworks to be completed? Well, I can tell you this. Somebody forwarded me an email today that they sent to Tom, and Tom said this. The person asked Tom, said, do you think that the two platforms will ever have their API agreement in place and get through the legal back and forth? Tom said, absolutely, absolutely. I think there's 100% chance of it happening. Now, look, we don't have any ink dried on that. It's definitely not signed yet. I'm extremely optimistic that we'll have an integration with Tastyworks whenever they're ready to go and have all the docs and everything in there. But until that point, right at this moment, we do not have the signed agreement between me and them. And I think we will. We just have to go back and forth on legal, and it's a normal process of business. We did it with TradeStation. We did it with Tradier. We did it with TD Ameritrade. Right? Does that help? Can the bots check the beta of a position? Not yet. This is a pretty interesting one that we definitely want to solve. And we just want to see how you guys use all the combinations of them. But I think referencing data inside of other bots is definitely one of the areas that we're going to be going towards in the future, where we can have one bot check some data metric inside another bot. One bot may not, definitely probably won't. Rob, you can probably back me up on this in the comments just so I get this right. But I don't think we'll have the point where one bot will trigger another bot to trade. Does that make sense? Like, it won't trigger another bot to trade, because then you can get into like these circular referencing things. If you've ever done Excel and you do this and you get yourself into a circular reference, it's like a nightmare. And I don't think we'll do that. But referencing data between bots, I think is interesting, and we will probably do some version of that. Here's a good one. Oh man, here's a good one. I know I'm not catching all of these. Will I be leaving the scanners and stuff created for access? I'll have a ton that you guys can access. But yeah, if you want some of those, we can do it. Will the bot dynamically switch out of a ticker if it fell out of a group of 30? Well, it depends on how you build out those lists, but referencing lists and watch lists is definitely something that we're working on putting together. Can we trade multiple multiple accounts with the same broker? If you have an IRA and a margin account at TD Ameritrade, as long as it's under one login, you could have a bot that trades your IRA and a bot that trades your margin account. You could have bots that do each of those. Is the 100 bot limit the limit of how many can be running, or is it the number you can have in your library? It's the number of bots that you can have running. We'll have a lot of ones that you can turn off. In fact, at some point, we'll give people the ability to build bots for free. They just can't ever turn them on paper or live until they have a membership. John, thanks for being here, man. It's a great session, extremely informative. Somebody said thumbs down on whoever gave a thumbs down on this class. I appreciate it. That's funny. Yeah, entering data from a third-party source or even mechanically to define the beta could be something interesting too. That's a great one to add to the wish list, Daryl. Can the bots manage positions enter directly on the broker? No. You got to enter it on the bot itself. That's why we gave you right in here. So right inside of a bot itself, you have the ability to enter a position manually so that it's in the wheelhouse of the bot. Just do it right here. That way, the bot can then manage it for you, because we can't manage it if it's not entered inside of our side. Oh, here was the question I wanted to get to. I was just trying to get to the list. Is paper trading within the bot environment, or is it through TOS paper trading? No. We built our own paper trading engine. So regardless of what broker you have, you can paper trade the bots and get email notifications of when they enter positions, etc. I think a lot of people who don't have a broker integrated yet can get a lot of value out of the platform, because you can paper trade bots, you can still clone and backtest and do whatever until an integration comes down the line. You don't need to have a broker connection to paper trade. Yeah, but yeah. Rob chimed in here and said this too, but just to reconfirm, we're never going to have one bot trigger trades in another bot. We'll reference data, and then you can trigger trades within that bot based on that data. Could be new and dynamic trading, but not bots trading bots. If you want to do that where like one set of data triggers another set of trades, do it within the same bot. Build out two different scanners right inside the same bot. Someone asked, where can I get access to yesterday's webinar? Right on YouTube. Should be a link right at the top of our page. Yeah, we'll have a huge Q&A bank on the new website. So we rebuilt the entire FAQ answer vault, and I think it'll be more organized. You guys will enjoy it a lot. Can we create our own scanner for bots? So this is a default answer for anything related to, can we create our own thing? The answer is no, you can't code your own because it's no coding platform. But if you have a suggestion, let us know and we could build it out for you potentially as a feature. Or two, in the future, we will probably have the ability in the let's say sometime next year. I don't want to give a date, but sometime next year, have the ability to push data into the bots from a third-party source. So if you want to trade on sentiment data, or you want to trade on your own data that you have, and you want to push data into a bot that triggers a trade, you could do that at some point in the future. Here's a good one too. A lot of people are asking on the intervals. We do have the ability, and we'll open up the ability in the future to power up a bot. I don't know what we're going to call it, boost a bot. If you want to trade on faster intervals than 15 minutes, which is pretty fast. 15 minutes when you're trading, it's still pretty fast. So if you're doing some really wicked day trading stuff, we'll have the ability to power up a bot to as little as 1 minute scans. It just creates a massive server load for us to do that. And so the power up will be a couple bucks just to help us with the server costs. We don't like it. I'm just being honest with you. That's how it's going to be. So if you do something really wicked and crazy, it'll cost you a couple bucks a month to power it up. And I think that's more than reasonable to help with the cost of doing that. And basically, you might have to spin up your own server for you. When trading with real money, will the trades be closed on profits? You can set them up to do that if you want to. It can check reoccurring for a potential profit and then close when you have a profit. Question here is technical question. I help manage a family member's account. We both have lifetime access. We both create bots that trade in his account. Will that cause errors? You can just direct the bots to trade in different accounts. One bot will trade one account, and then you could spin up another bot to trade another account differently if you wanted to. Does that help out? Everything is completely browser-based, by the way. I know Rob's answering these questions in here too, but just to reiterate, everything is browser-based, which means that when you log in, you just log in, start your bots. You can log out, smash your computer, and the bots are still running. This is a good question from John. Can you paper trade a set of bots and then live trade a separate set? Yep, you can do that. You can split your 100 bots, 50 paper, 50 live. You could do one bot live, 100 paper. You could do 2 bots live, one for your IRA, one for your margin account, and 98 bots paper trading. Whatever slice and dice you want to do, you can do that. If you don't upgrade to Elite, this is a good question. All the scanners at the Elite level and at the Pro level will run on, at shortest right now, 15 minutes. Maybe shorter in the future if we can improve it. If you're not at that level, which Elite gets the most bots, the best scan times, all the power up type stuff you could have in the future, then the light levels or plus levels we'll introduce are probably going to be hour-long scan times. Because we can't just give that away for what it's going to cost to run all the bots. Yep. How does a bot work? Come to the demo tonight or rewatch this. Thanks, man. Robin said, I'm in. Makes all the other trading support services redundant. I appreciate that. No, you can use the desktop version of TOS. You can use your broker platform just how you normally would. You just don't need to have your broker platform open in order to use auto trading. Once you log in and run your bots, you can log out and they're running in the cloud for you. You can log into your Thinkorswim account and just watch the trades come through if you wanted to there, or just watch them happen in your Option Alpha account. Someone said each bot can only work on one ticker. No. Each bot could work on dozens and dozens of tickers. It could scan dozens and dozens. It only has the ability right now to enter 10 positions at a time. But you could have multiple tickers. You could be scanning multiple tickers and only entering certain ones that hit your threshold. So it's not that one bot works on one ticker, although I think a lot of people might set up their bots that way. They might set up their bots to work on one at a time and just clone the bot and just redo the ticker for each one if they wanted to. But you don't have to do it that way. You don't have to do it that way. Will TOS charge more for pushing trades through bots? Nope. They just charge whatever they charge you. All the commissions are on your end with them. And we don't get a kickback, by the way, from any of our broker partners based on how much or little you trade. So if you start auto trading and your trading frequency goes up, it doesn't matter to us. Your trading frequency goes down, it doesn't matter to us. The only thing that we do is charge you for access to the platform. That's it. And no add-on commissions on top of that. Does that help out? All right, really quickly before we jump off, was this helpful today? I think that pretty much wraps it up for the day. Question was, any idea when it will work with Tasty Trade? Whenever we get the agreement in place, and then whenever we get the API up and running. I don't know when their API will be ready. I've heard first quarter of next year. We don't know. Gustavo said, we will never be able to run futures contracts or options on futures. I mean, I don't know never. It's not on the roadmap right now. I can tell you that. But never is probably strong. Like, could it happen in the future? For sure. But one, brokers would need to allow futures contracts through an API. Does that help? The only way to let bots work with the current trades would be to open it within the bot. Yes. Correct. So just manage your existing trades the way you are. Start new ones in the bot. So helpful. Is there a limit on the number of bots that can be run? That's 100 at the elite level. If you need more than 100, let's talk, because I think there's probably some strategies you could overlap or you could condense them into a bot. I don't think anybody needs more than 100. I don't think anybody is going to realistically trade over 100 live bots. I can't see it happening. That'd be like one specific unique strategy for every 1% of their account. It's completely overkill. But we want to give it to you. We want to give you 100 bots. You have way more than you possibly need at the elite level. As soon as we have the new website and new platform with all the documentation ready to go, we'll continue to push it out. But I think a lot of this is pretty intuitive. You'll get a lot of it as you get in there. It's like riding a bike. Like, you can't really, much of it you're going to learn just by doing and building out bots and putting together paper bots. But yeah, we'll have a lot of documentation. As soon as it's ready, we'll let you guys have access to it at whatever stage it's in. Okay? All right, cool. That wraps it up then. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you spent the entire time with me today and yesterday, thank you. Seriously. It means the world to me and to my team that you're here and you spend time with us. I think that was an awesome day. I hope you got a lot out of this. I hope it made you a lot more comfortable with automations and bots. I hope it got you ridiculously excited about what you can do now and how much time you can free up. And if it did, please share Option Alpha with your friends and your family. Please tell everyone about what we're doing here, because that is how we grow. We grow through word of mouth by people like you sharing your experience and what you think, good, bad, or indifferent, about what we do here at Option Alpha. So I would encourage you, please share what we're doing here at Option Alpha. Help some other people out. If we can get some more people that are like you in the community, I know we're going to do amazing things. And all these ideas you guys have, this is great. This is just the beginning of what we're doing here. This platform is not stagnant and stale. It is constantly evolving and growing based on your feedback. And so if you're an elite member, this is your opportunity to help support us and give us feedback and direction and tell us how you want to use these things so that we can grant as many wishes as humanly possible. So thank you guys so much for being here. Really appreciate it. If you have any follow-up questions, please let me know. We're going to be doing a demo tonight at 7 o'clock Eastern time. And remember, lifetime membership ends November 1st. Halloween night at midnight, when it crosses over from the 31st to the 1st, Eastern Standard Time, that's it. So if you haven't already been in, this is your opportunity to get in. Have a great rest of your day, everyone. We'll talk to you guys tonight if you join us at 7 o'clock. If not, we'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks.